19-year-old Destiny Arnold is suing the father of her child, 19-year-old Nicholas Mealy, for car repair costs and a cell phone bill.
Order. All rise.
Your Honor, this is case number 195 on the calendar in the matter of Arnold versus Mealy. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Ms. Arnold, I've read your complaint. The defendant is your former boyfriend. You have a child together.
Yes.
According to your complaint, you made a loan to him to have his car fixed. You want your money back. That was while you were living together. And that subsequent to your separating, you purchased cell phones. And he was supposed to pay his bill. He didn't pay his bill. You also want him to pay for his cell phone. The defendant says that the money that you did, in fact, give him to have his car fixed was just that, a gift, that he provided all the support for you and his child while you were living in an apartment together, that the phone was something that he purchased, and he paid for that, and he paid for the 1 month's worth of service that he actually used the phone, and then you shut the phone off. He has a counterclaim because he says that in April, at the time that the two of you separated, you had him falsely arrested for domestic violence, and he believes he should be compensated for the 27 hours that he spent in a police precinct. Is that correct, sir?
Correct.
Okay. On what date, Mr. Mealy, were you arrested for domestic violence?
April 3rd, 2006.
And at that time, how long had you and Miss Arnold been living together?
We'd been living together for a little over a year.
Now, Miss Arnold, in the year that you were living together, you were living in an apartment. Is that right?
Correct. We lived in the apartment just from December to April.
And when was your child born?
January 24th, 2006.
Keep your voice up, please.
Okay.
So from the time you moved into the apartment, I assume, until the time that you separated in April, you were not working?
I had one job for about 2 weeks.
So you were not working?
No.
And Mr. Mealy was supporting the household?
Yes.
He was paying the rent?
Yes.
He was paying for food?
Yes.
He was paying the gas, electric, and utilities?
Yes.
Paid for the expenses of the baby at home?
Mostly.
Well, you didn't. So if...
No, but state helped.
How much did the state help?
I believe I got, well, right, as soon as I moved out, I got $440, and he has paid $1 towards child support in the last 3 months.
I'm not asking you that.
Okay.
I'm asking you from December until April.
Pretty much all of it.
So he paid for everything?
Yes.
And you put the car repairs on your credit card?
Part of them, yes.
$600 worth?
I put $210 down on my credit card, and I'm making payments for the rest.
How much in total?
I believe the total was $558.
$558. So for the 4 months that you lived together, your capital contribution was $558?
Yes.
That seem reasonable to you?
No, but I did have the baby.
So what? So did millions of other people, madam.
I just think it's kind of hard to work being 9 months pregnant. And...
You working now?
No.
Where are you living?
I just got a triplex with my boyfriend.
With your boyfriend?
Yes.
Well, you didn't just have a baby and you're not 9 months pregnant, so how come you're not working?
I am looking for a job.
Well, you've been looking for a long time. Your baby was born in January. So first your baby was born, then you had state aid, now you found another boyfriend to support you. Let's hear what happened in April on the 3rd, sir.
April of the 3rd, I picked Destiny up from Albertsons at the job she stated she did have for 2 weeks on her lunch break. I lived 1 block from the Albertsons that she worked at.
When you say you lived there, is that where you lived together?
No, she'd actually moved out.
Okay, so she moved out and you were picking her up from work anyway?
Yeah, she asked me to come and pick her up for lunch.
Okay.
And I did so. I went down and I picked Destiny up for lunch. I brought her to my apartment.
Where was the baby?
With her mother.
Okay, so you brought it to your apartment. Is that where she wanted to go?
Yes.
For what?
For lunch.
Okay.
And at that time, me and Destiny started arguing.
What were you arguing about?
We had a car that we purchased together, and Destiny's sister's ex-fiance was the dealer of that car, and he had not sent the stuff into the state, and Destiny went back to him and asked him to change it because she was going to leave me. And
you mean to change the title?
Change the title. And he
to her name?
He rewrote the whole title to her name.
When was the car purchased?
In November of 2005.
In November of 2005, where did the money come to purchase the car?
Destiny had a car previous to that. It was a Pontiac Grand Am. We sold that car and used that money to put the down payment for that car. I supported that car, and I paid for all the repairs, fixings. And
From November until April,
No, from when Destiny first moved out.
which was
back
when?
In August 2005.
So from August 2005 until April,
Yes.
you made the payments on the car?
I made the insurance payments as well as the car repairs for both the Jeep and the Grand Am.
Who made the car payment?
Destiny had moved out and she used the state's aid for the car payment.
So you were both paying something for the car?
Correct.
Now I understand what the argument was about. You were annoyed that for whatever you put into the car, you were getting nothing.
Yes, and
Okay, fine. So that's what the argument was about. Now, what happened during the course of that argument? Because it escalated and the police were ultimately called.
Destiny also was selling my stuff on eBay.
What stuff?
Video game consoles. I had a very large collection of almost every game console, and
I don't know what that is.
the PlayStations, a Sega Saturn, and Destiny was selling on eBay. I then asked for Destiny's keys back. She said no.
You mean she was taking your property out of your house?
Yes.
Were you selling his property on eBay?
We both,
The answer is either yes or no.
technically, no. We both owned the game consoles. I had talked to him about this. We sold them on eBay, and we split the sharing.
Split the what?
We split the money that we received from it. He made a credit card payment, and I made a payment to Les Schwab from the tires that I bought for him.
I'm not talking about tires. I'm asking you whether you were selling his property on eBay.
I know. Technically, it was both of our property, and we split the money that we got from eBay.
So then there were arguments. So you asked for her keys back because you said she was taking stuff from your house.
Correct.
And she wasn't living there anymore.
Correct.
Good. Okay. And what happened when you asked for the keys back?
She denied me the keys and said
What
that
did she say?
she had more stuff inside the house. She wanted to move out. Her keys were then sitting on top of her purse. I pulled them out, and that's when Destiny grabbed for the keys back, and I refused to
Give them back.
Give them back.
Go ahead.
Destiny did scratch my arm. I had scratches on my arm, and that is in the police report. However, the police report would not be released to me.
Just listen to me. After you grabbed the keys, by the way, whose name is on the lease?
Mine.
And she had moved out when?
She moved out in July.
She moved out in July. She was still coming around in April?
Yes.
Is that right?
No.
When did you move out?
I moved out of the apartment in April.
When did you stop sleeping there?
In April.
Is that right?
Yes.
I thought you said she moved out in July.
It was the end of July, beginning of April. June.
Mr. Mealy, you want to go over the months again?
I have my months confused.
So you had not been sleeping in the apartment. You already broke up.
Yes.
Is that right? And you moved out, and you moved in with your mother.
Yes.
Okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You told the police that he probably scratched himself to get you in trouble.
I wasn't sure what had happened. I did not recall touching him at all.
That's too bad.
And later today,
What she's telling me, sir, is that she actually did break the equipment, in so many words. She said, well, it started to fall, and I sort of helped it.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Destiny Arnold claims the father of her child, Nicholas Mealy, owes for car repair costs and a cell phone bill. Nicholas is countersuing, claiming Destiny had him falsely arrested for domestic violence.
Now, when you had this argument over the keys, you say that she scratched you.
Yes.
Did you touch her?
I pushed her hands away off of scratching me, yes.
Who called the police?
I did. We both did.
Who called the police first?
I did.
And where was she when you called the police?
She was outside, standing by her car.
How did you get outside?
When he ripped my purse from my hands to get my keys, I told him I was going to call the police. I ran to the next door neighbor and nobody was home. When I ran back into his apartment to grab my purse off the counter where he had put it, he was on the phone with the police telling them that I was hitting him and pushing him. So I grabbed my purse and my phone and I walked outside to the parking lot and I called the police.
So he called the police first?
Yes.
Did you have any visible marks or bruises on you?
No, ma'am.
You have a police report?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it.
That.
What happened, Miss Arnold, when you went to the neighbor's house?
Nobody was home.
What did you go to the neighbor's house for?
To call the police. He had taken my phone and my purse from me.
What were you calling the police about?
He had ripped my purse from me. And
So you were calling the police because he took your purse?
Yes.
Miss Arnold, you weren't honest with the police.
Yes, I was.
No, you weren't. According to the police officer, you said that he assaulted you. That's not true.
He ripped...
That's not true.
Okay.
He did not assault you. He did not assault you. He took your purse because he wanted the keys. Not a smart thing to do, but he did not assault you. And the police officer noted scratch marks on him, nothing on you.
Correct.
I have no idea why he was arrested. And you told the police that he probably scratched himself to get you in trouble.
I wasn't sure what had happened. I did not recall touching him at all.
Well, that's going to be an expensive fib and an expensive scratch, Miss Arnold.
I really don't remember touching him.
That's too bad. I believe him.
Okay.
And I believe that it's an unfortunate breakup. She used her influence with the dealership to change the title to a car, which she knew you had an interest in. According to the police, she acknowledged to the police that she destroyed the sales agreement, which listed you as a co-owner of the car, and had the papers changed because that was what the dispute was about. You know, if things don't work out, Miss Arnold, they don't work out. But you're supposed to be fair and reasonable. I don't think you were fair and reasonable at all. So that's going to cost you. So I don't even have to deal with your claim. You're not supposed to make false reports about people. There's no question in my mind that if he had assaulted you and you went to a neighbor's house because you wanted your pocketbook back, if he had assaulted you, you would not have gone back into the apartment. You would have gone yet to another neighbor. But certainly if one is in fear of their life or their physical situation, they don't go back to the same environment. They leave. You chose not to do that. You chose to go back, which suggests to me you weren't in fear. You knew he wasn't going to hit you. You knew he wasn't going to put his hands on you. Yeah. And the only reason, put your hand down, and the only reason you called the police is because when you came into the apartment, he was on the phone with the police.
He is an abusive man. He has taped the binky into our daughter's mouth. My mom had seen him push
Listen to me. Stop making up stories. Sounds to me as if however old you are. How old are you, 20?
18.
18. Well, you already have a baby with one man. You moved in with your mother. Now you moved into another apartment with yet a new boyfriend. Sounds to me your life is going in a downward spiral. I suggest you fix it.
Okay.
Judgment on the counterclaim for the amount of $2,000. Your claim is subsumed by the counterclaim, which means it's taken care of by the counterclaim. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. May step out.
He will not see her. He will not have any contact with her.
They can say what they want and lie about what they want.
I will be going to get full custody.
Those are just comments.
And I know he will never see his child again.
I plan to get a lawyer and see my daughter.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Torres versus Briley. Step forward.
Music producer Clifton Torres is suing the mother of his children, Brandy Briley, for destroying his music equipment. Brandy claims the equipment was broken prior to the incident in question.
Mr. Torres, you and Miss Briley had a relationship, according to what I read, and I assume that you lived together for a period of time. It is your claim that a year ago she ruined some of your musical equipment. You want her to pay so that you can purchase new equipment.
That's correct.
Miss Briley said that while the equipment that you are complaining about was in fact tossed over during this altercation, the altercation occurred because you pushed her and the equipment wasn't working so well to begin with. I have a few questions. You have children?
Yes, 2.
Are they your children together?
Yes.
How old are they?
2 and 5.
Who do they live with?
They live with me.
And how long have they lived with you? Alone?
Alone?
Without the defendant?
I guess approximately a year, maybe a little less.
Did they live with you, Mr. Torres, pursuant to a court order?
Yes.
Was there a contested custody proceeding?
No.
Miss Briley agreed for you to care for the children?
Correct.
Now tell me the date of this incident with your music equipment, please.
It was November 21st, and I came home from work. It was 5:30.
What kind of work were you doing?
At the time, I was working at a construction warehouse.
Could you keep your voice up, Mr. Torres?
I was working at a construction warehouse, and I came home at like about 5:30, and we had gotten into an argument.
About what?
Just about living arrangements, personal stuff, you know. We just had a lot of, disagreements about things.
Okay.
And the verbal argument turned kind of physical, pushing and shoving and whatnot. And as I left to leave, that's when the equipment was damaged. As I turned, because I was just trying to leave. As I turned to leave, I heard a smash on the floor. I turned around, and my equipment was on the floor, destroyed.
But it did not fall as a result of the altercation.
No, it happened after the altercation.
It happened when you were
Directly
exiting.
after. As I'm trying to leave, that's when it happened.
All right, Miss Briley, tell me about it.
Basically, he came home, we got in a disagreement.
You remember what the disagreement was about?
Our living arrangements and personal problems.
What does that mean?
We were just disagreeing on lots of different things. Like, for the most part, it was our living arrangements. But as he pushes me back because he doesn't want to listen to what I have to say.
Well, he's coming home from work. You're home all day. Is that
Yes.
right?
Yes.
You're home all day with 2 children.
Yes.
2 very small children,
Yes.
right? Did you ever have any drug or alcohol problem?
No.
Never.
No.
You hesitated for a moment.
Well, I have drank before, but I've never had a problem with it.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, he pushes me back. I go to get my balance on the stand where the MPC equipment was, and it goes to slide off. And I did help it go to the ground. Like, I didn't try and catch it or anything, but my main argument is it was already broken before any of that ever happened.
Tell me about it already being broken before.
Well, as you know, I stay at home every day, so I did all the cleaning, and it had been in the box for a period of time. And I know he said he wasn't using it for a while, so I would assume it wasn't working.
Well, you can't make any assumptions, so you don't know that it wasn't working.
From what I understood from him, it wasn't.
Did you ever tell her the equipment wasn't working?
No, I have a picture of the equipment. It's actually, it was actually in the box. I have a picture of the box.
Can I see it, please?
It's basically a piece of equipment that's used in the preliminary stages of music production. It basically makes the outlining beat, and from there it goes into a computer.
So what she's telling me, sir, is that she actually did break the equipment, because that's what she said in so many words. She said, well, it started to fall, and I sort of helped it.
Well,
What kind of work do you do, Miss Briley?
I work with the developmentally disabled at a day treatment program.
How much money do you earn?
Is that relevant?
Yes. Anything I ask is relevant.
How would you like it then? Weekly?
Weekly,
hourly,
bi-weekly, however
monthly?
you're paid.
I make about $2,000 a month after taxes.
How much do you pay in child support?
Currently, I don't pay child support. I assist with getting their needs. Like, I went school shopping for my son. I help buy diapers. Like,
Mr. Torres,
Yes,
you are the full-time custodial parent of these children?
that's correct.
You're supposed to collect child support for them. Do you understand that, sir?
Your Honor, when we made the agreement for custody or whatnot, there was a verbal agreement, basically, that she was going to help out in certain things, and I wasn't supposed to receive child support for 6 months, so...
6 months is now passed, sir.
Right.
So?
It was a couple months before we got into court, before we made that agreement, and it's been almost 6 months since then, so it hasn't been exactly 6 months.
Well,
yet.
what I'm telling you, Mr. Torres, is it is not your right to have a support order fixed for your children.
Right.
It is the children's right to have a child support order fixed for them.
Right.
Support order.
I'm in the process. I go back on the 28th. We go back to court, so...
Fine. Do you have a bill for this equipment, sir?
Yes, I do.
May I see it, please?
I actually have I'll just give this all to you. I have a police report, and I have, I don't have the receipt because it was purchased in about 2001. I do have an ad for the same exact equipment. It's pretty much almost exactly identical.
Let me see it.
You'll be able to see that for yourself. I brought it to get looked at a shop, and they basically rendered it, irreparable because the motherboard, the internal CPU board is cracked due to the fall.
Did you get a protective order, Mr. Torres?
I had one at one time, but it was disengaged.
Was it as a result of this?
No, it was something that happened prior to, before that.
How much did you pay for the equipment, sir?
$2,400.
Well, you can replace it for $1,700, correct?
That's correct. That's not exactly the identical model because
May not be,
it's a
but
vintage
it's also
model that
5
was
years
broken.
ago.
I understand.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,700. That's all. Step out.
Oh, he's excused. You messed up.
22-year-old Marie Abrams is suing her cousin, Mark Abrams, for making unauthorized charges on her debit card. Marie claims Mark stole the card from her purse.
Yeah, this is case number 238 on the calendar in the matter of Abrams versus Abrams. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat, please.
Miss Abrams, the defendant is your cousin, and it is your claim that he took your debit card, and in fact stole your debit card, and used it to make calls, to call sex lines or whatever, and also, that you incurred as a result of that some overdraft fees. Mr. Abrams says that you're always blaming him for things that aren't true, that aren't his fault, and he did not take any property that belongs to you. So what, Miss Abrams, makes you think that he took property that belongs to you?
Well, on the 20th of July, he took me to a doctor's appointment, and the next day, the 21st of July, when the charges occurred.
On the 21st of July is when the unauthorized charges began?
Yes.
The day later?
Yes.
What kind of charges were placed on your debit card?
There was one charge for $326.
Can I see it, please?
Yes.
Sprint PCS. What is that?
The Sprint PCS cellular phone bill.
So somebody paid a cellular phone bill on your debit card.
Yes.
And then somebody paid a T-Mobile bill.
Yes.
And then there were a lot of fees. Another T-Mobile bill for $54 on the 26th of July.
Yes, and the defendant owns the T-Mobile.
Does he also own a Sprint phone?
His brother does, as well as he does.
What's your cell phone number, sir?
Mine?
Yours.
773-827.
Okay, and what's your other phone number, sir?
What other one?
You have two phones.
No, no, I don't.
Your brother has a phone?
Yeah, my brother got a Sprint
What's
phone.
your brother's phone?
773-494.
Excuse me, he has the T-Mobile. That's not his T-Mobile number. Can you ask him to tell you his T-Mobile phone number?
What's your T-Mobile number, sir? Just, you be quiet. What's the T-Mobile number? Fast.
816.
So you have two phones?
No, that was my old phone until I got the new one right here.
Which phone did you have in July of 2006?
The T-Mobile.
And which number was that?
The 816.
In Your Honor, with that I have a paper from T-Mobile stating that the charges were made to that phone.
You had a prepaid cell phone?
Yes.
Well, you used her credit card in order to make these payments.
No, because my oldest brother, he had gave me the money to put the prepaid on.
Sir, this company has said that this phone number, 816, was used to pay bills using her credit card. You mean you think that out of the 300 million people who live in this country, it just so happens that you, who took her to the doctor on the 20th of July, had this phone number? Do you think that that's a coincidence that I'm about to believe?
No.
So you want to tell me what happened with her credit card?
When I took her to the doctor on the July 20th...
Just make sure I don't get aggravated. Just remember what I said. This company has verified that of the 300 million people living in this country, 816 was the one that in an unauthorized fashion used her debit card. You got it? Now I want to find out how you got hold of that card.
On July 20th, she had asked me to take her to the doctor. I took her to the doctor. When we went to the doctor, she had gave me her coat. She took her purse in the back with her. So I don't understand how I made the charges on the 20th if she had her purse with her in the back by the doctor's office.
I don't want to know what you can understand. I want to know how your number was used to make these unauthorized charges. Explain that to me.
I don't know how, because my oldest brother had gave me the $21.50 to put on the prepaid account.
Well, I don't understand it either, sir, but in July you had this number, right?
Yes, I did.
This is not something she has to deal with. This is something you have to deal with. You have to go figure out from T-Mobile resolution team, how come your phone number received the credit for all the bills that were paid that she had to pay, so that don't ask her how it happened, don't ask me how it happened, because I'm going to charge you for services that you received. Your bills got paid by her. Who was this?
My mother.
You get it?
Yes, I got it.
His bills got paid by her. He wants to know, how could it be if she took her pocketbook? I don't know. I don't care.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
What you're telling me is Officer Byrd went into her wallet and took her credit card and decided to pay your son's phone bill. Do you understand how stupid that sounds?
And later today,
Sugar got sick.
No, Sugar did not get sick, Your Honor.
So you had Toes, and then you got a second cat, and the second cat died.
No, Toes and Mooney, Your Honor, was the very first cat that we had. That was Mischief.
Mischief you took, and Mischief died.
Correct, Your Honor.
Hush.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Marie Abrams claims her cousin, Mark Abrams, stole her debit card and used it to make several charges. Mark denies the accusation.
Now, his bills got paid. That's a very nice thing. They're his responsibility. They're his bills. He's going to pay them. You want to say something?
Yes, I do.
Good.
A lot of times when my older son would give him the money to pay the phone bill, she said, give me the money and I use my credit card. She wrote down a lot of information for him to use her credit card to pay these phone bills. She would go overdraft and pay other people's phone bills with her credit card and try to blame my son for it. And I believe my son would not do that.
Listen to me, madam. He received the credit by having his bills paid by her. Do you understand?
I understand.
Do you
Why
understand?
would she leave her purse
Listen to
laying
me.
around?
Listen to me. Why did she leave her purse laying around?
Yeah, she left it laying around with it unzipped, and people can go in her house and pick it up, pick anything out of her purse in her room. Everybody goes in and out of her house.
The apple don't fall. How many children did you make?
5.
Oh,
Excuse me, Your Honor.
just wait a second.
He doesn't know nothing about what went on my son
Listen
right
to me. I want you to try to clear your brain, if you can, and listen to the logic of what you're saying. She left her pocketbook lying around in the doctor's office, in her house. Anybody could have picked up the card. She is only charging him with the charges that were actually made that benefited him. His phone bill, his expenses. He should pay that, not her, right? Now, if what you're telling me is she left her pocketbook around and Officer Byrd went into her wallet and took her credit card and decided to pay your son's phone bill. Do you understand how stupid that sounds? Now you can sit down.
Thank you.
You think she got that?
I think so.
I certainly hope so. Judging for the plaintiff in the amount of $900. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
My cousin's always accusing me of doing things that I didn't do.
This is the third time he took from me.
That wasn't me. Probably one of her boyfriends.
I don't even have a boyfriend.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Laxon versus Laxon. Step forward, please.
Chris Laxon is suing her ex-husband, Henry Laxon, for vet bills he promised to pay when his cat Toes became ill. Henry says he wanted the cat euthanized.
Oh, Mr. and Mrs. Laxon. You mean you couldn't work this out? You had to come here?
Yes.
You two folks have been divorced for how long?
About 7 years.
And from what I read in the complaint and the answer, you have children together?
Yes.
Yes.
You have shared custody of the children?
Yes.
That seems to work out fine.
Yes.
Perfect.
So that's a testament to your parenting and your ability to put the children's needs over your own.
Thank you.
So far correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Case is about the cat.
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Laxon, you had a cat for the children. How many children do you have?
I have 2 children, Your Honor.
How old are they?
Jonathan is 9 and Brittany is 8.
So 2 little kids. And I understand from the papers that they had had a cat previously that died.
Yes, Your Honor.
When did that cat die?
Well, that cat died probably not too long before this one did, probably about February. We got it from the neighbor downstairs, and unfortunately it had been through some traumatic experiences previous to that, so it was just a matter of probably when, because the kid they were watching it actually drowned it, and they brought it back to life.
So it died in February.
Yes.
And you got another cat.
Yes.
That cat's name is?
This one's now named as Sugar.
And where did you get Sugar from?
We got her from the local pet shop.
When?
I would say about 2 to 3 months ago.
And then that cat got sick. Sugar got sick.
No, Sugar did not get sick, Your Honor. The one that got sick was actually Toes.
So that was a third cat.
Okay. Well,
Was
actually,
that a third cat? That was a third cat. So first you got one from a neighbor in February. That one died.
that is correct.
Then you got Sugar from a pet shop.
That was just recently.
I'm talking about the cat, sir, that is the subject of this case.
I understand, ma'am.
That's Toes.
Yes, Toes and Moonies, we got...
You got Toes after the first cat died.
No, actually, we got Toes before the first cat did.
So you had Toes, and then you got a second cat, and the second cat died.
Okay. No, Toes and Mooney, Your Honor, was the very first cat that we had. When I moved into the apartment, we didn't have any pets. So Toes and Mooney I got as both kittens, okay? And they were doing really great. Then the neighbors downstairs was about to move. They couldn't take their cat with them. That was Mischief.
Mischief you took, and Mischief died.
Correct, Your Honor.
Oh, Mischief died. And then Toes got sick?
Toes got sick probably about a month later.
And when Toes got sick, your former wife took the cat to the vet.
Yes.
And it was very expensive vet bill. She believes you should be responsible for the vet bill. And your defense is you told her that you weren't paying for the vet bill and that you told her that she should have the cat put down. And she felt as if it was not a good idea to put the cat down since the children had already lost one pet within a relatively short period of time. She now has Toes.
Yes.
And the children didn't go through the death of another pet.
Yes, Your Honor.
So When did Toes become ill, Mr. Laxon?
I came home on a Monday night after work and picking up the kids from school, and I saw him laying on the floor very still by the refrigerator, and I, nudged him a little bit with my foot. You okay, kitty, okay? And then I bent over.
How old was he?
Toes was probably only about 3.5 years old.
What did you do?
Well, when I bent down to rub him a little bit, make sure he was okay, I could see he was breathing. He opened up his eyes. I didn't move him, so right away, because Chris had worked with animals before, and I know she's pretty good authoritarian on cats, I called her up on the cell phone, and she called me back from work, and I said, can you please come over and look at him? I think he's dying. And she did. And then I said I'd watch the kids, and she would take him to the vet. I said, please have him put down.
Why would you say that, Mr. Laxon? So far, up until now, quite frankly, I'm crazy about you. But why would you, before you even found out what was wrong with the cat, tell them to put the cat down? Maybe it just had indigestion.
Well, Honor, I've worked around animals a lot, being from the Midwest and Iowa, and that, my cousin had a farm. I've never seen a cat or an animal like that being that sick, and knowing that the veterinarian bill would be rather expensive. We had a cat like that together in our marriage. He ended up being about $900.
But wasn't this cat part of your family? Lived indoors?
Yes, Your Honor.
Was with your children?
Yes,
right?
Your Honor.
Right, Mr. Laxon, how do you explain that to your children?
Well, Your Honor, I realized that it was a very hard thing to do, a decision that had to be made.
Even before you knew what the vet said, you told her to put the cat down?
Yes, Your Honor.
You better hope that your children don't take the same approach with you when you get older. They say, listen, I love my father-in-law, I love my mother, but, my mother took good care of me. She took good care of my cat. She spent whatever was necessary to take care of the cat. My father, on the other hand, said, listen, you're part of the family, we'll get another one. Put him down.
Well, Your Honor, I realized that being that expensive, the most important thing to me was always provide for my children first. $900 could go easy for clothes, food, a college fund, or, maybe even a couple more toys. I mean, another cat would actually be more cost-effective. I do love animals very much. I love Toes.
Mr. Laxon, what you're saying is you can have an animal in your house for a substantial period of time, have an animal part of your household, and if it gets sick or if it requires expensive shots or something, you just say, listen, let's put this one down and get a new one, because I can use that money instead to pay for your college or to buy an extra pair of jeans or something. Why would I spend that on an animal that I can replace for nothing? Is that what I'm hearing, Mr. Laxon? That's what I'm hearing, sir.
I understand you're saying that. You can never replace love on an animal.
You're absolutely right, Mr. Laxon, and I guarantee you, if you gave your children the choice of whether they got an extra toy or whether their cat was given the medical assistance they needed, your children would say, take care of Toes.
That is correct. Unfortunately, being as young as they are, they don't always understand the necessary things it is to be an adult and make important decisions to run a household.
Well, I'm talking to you about making a decision that I believe is in the best emotional welfare of your children. Children can get along without another toy. They can even get along, without an additional jacket, or they can get along without expensive sneakers. But it takes a while for them to get over the loss of a pet, especially when they're aware of the fact that the pet could have been saved with money, even money that you may have to pay over a long period of time. I want to tell you something, Mr. Laxon. You're gathering from what I'm saying, sir, that you don't have my sympathy.
I understand, Your Honor.
Good. Okay, so you took the cat to the vet, and what happened, Mrs. Laxon?
Well, I originally met Henry and the children at the golf lessons, and he told me off to the side that the cat was laying on the floor dying. So I said, I'll come over to your house, because if it's dead, the kids won't be able to handle it, and I'll take care of the kids. I got there, the cat was still breathing, and I said, I'll take him to the vet. I have an open credit card. If you'll pay my credit card bill back, I'll be happy with that. It's a zero balance. I won't charge anything else to it. He said, okay. So I took my daughter, who was 7 at the time, with me to the vet. She waited while they took the cat. I called Henry and said, they're doing these tests on it. It's going to be about $300 for the tests. He said, okay. About 10, 15 minutes later, they came back with the x-rays, the blood results, and they said, this is what's wrong with the cat.
What was wrong with the cat?
He had kidney problems, kidney infection. They weren't sure at first whether it was stones or kidney failure. He had blood in his kidneys, so they had to catheterize him. He was in the hospital for 5 days. Actually, he was in for 7 days. But I called him back and I said, this is going to run this much. It's going to be over $1,000 for the whole thing. What do you want me to do? He said, go ahead. We've already gone this far. I said, okay. So they took the cat. I took my daughter back to his house, picked up my son, and we left. The next day, my understanding, Henry went down and visited the cats at the hospital. On Thursday, he called the vet. And on Friday, I went to pick up the children from his house. I said, how's the cat? Let me see him. He says, well, you know, you should have put the cat down. I told you to do that. It's your bill. You're stuck with it. If you want the cat, he's at the vet still. I said, that was never our agreement. I took our daughter with us. I would never kill a cat with my daughter in the room. He said, well, it's your problem. So I called the vet. I picked the cat up on the Sunday. He's now home with me. He's had medical treatments. He's doing very well. He's 14 pounds, and he just loves us to death. He's like a little puppy.
How many cats do you have in your house now, Mr. Laxon?
I have 2, Your Honor.
And you?
I have 4 now. Mine are very old, 15 years old.
Is it true, Mr. Laxon, that your former wife took your daughter with her to the vet?
Yes, Your Honor, that is correct.
Were you there when she took your daughter to the vet?
I was at the house when she took the daughter to the vet, yes, Your Honor.
And you want me to believe that she took the cat to the vet with your daughter there and they were going there for the purpose of putting the cat down?
Yes, Your Honor, because that's what I had instructed her to do.
Okay. When she came back, Mr. Laxon, and you found out that she had not put the cat down, and it was your cat, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you pick up the phone and call the vet and tell the vet to put the cat down?
No, I did not, Your Honor.
Why not, Mr. Laxon?
Because I depended on Chris to do that.
No. Listen, you just said to me, sometimes when you're a parent, you have to make hard decisions. And even though your children don't understand those hard decisions, that's what you have to do as a parent. So here, you gave an instruction to your former wife to put the cat down.
Yes, Your Honor.
Something that you could have done.
That's true.
Same way, you take your daughter and go to the vet and put the cat down. It's your cat, right?
You're right, Your Honor.
But you gave the cat to your wife with your instruction, according to you. Now, the same day you found out that this is not what she's going to do, you had 2 options. Either you let her go ahead with it, or you call the vet and say, this is my cat, and I'm giving you an instruction to put the cat down. You chose not to do that. You pay the bill. How much is the bill?
The total bill was $1231.96.
Judgment for the plaintiff, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Karen Goppert is suing her former friend, Chris Fitzgerald, for the cost of outstanding traffic tickets she paid on his behalf.
Now, this is case number 237 on the calendar in the matter of Goppert versus Fitzgerald. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, ma'am. Have a seat, please.
Mrs. Goppert, you and your husband own a trucking company.
That's
and
correct.
You became acquainted with the defendant, I gather, through his wife, girlfriend? Girlfriend. At some point, and for a reason that you will tell me, it is your claim that you paid some fines that he had outstanding in the criminal justice system. Your arrangement, according to you, was that the fines would enable him to get a certain kind of a license that would allow him to drive a truck, and he would be working for you and your husband's company, and he would pay you so much per week or month, whenever he's paid, out of his pay.
That's correct.
The 2 couples, you and your husband and the defendant and his girlfriend, went on a trip together. There was an argument. You stopped speaking to each other after you paid these fines. Mr. Fitzgerald says that it was very nice of you to pay the fines. He didn't ask you to pay the fines. He had no intention of going to work for your husband. He had no intention of taking up trucking. He had a good job that he liked. And you, out of the goodness of your heart, paid his criminal fines. Is that your defense, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Fitzgerald, what were these fines for, and how old were they, sir?
Dating back to probably 1999 to 2000 to 2001.
What were they for?
Various charges, logbook violations.
What is that?
I had a CDL license that was suspended.
What is a CDL?
Commercial driver's license, 18-wheeler.
Yes.
At one point in time, I was paying big money to child support, trying to make ends meet, and ended up getting some fines, pulled over.
For what?
They're just different things.
Give me, come on.
Logbook violations.
Tell me what's a logbook violation.
It's a book that a commercial driver's license has to keep about the hours of work, the hours of driving the truck.
So you first found guilty of violating the code to keep that book, which you keep in order to maintain an honest record of the driving hours you put in.
Well, ma'am, I was not found guilty of that.
You mean you were found not guilty of that and they imposed a fine anyway?
Yes.
On top of several other tickets.
Shh. That's an interesting criminal justice system. You found not guilty and got a fine anyway?
Yes, ma'am, of different charges. The charges were reduced.
So you pled down to a lesser charge?
Yes, ma'am.
I got it now. So you accumulated all of these fines. Did you still have a driver's license, sir?
No, ma'am, I don't.
Mr. Fitzgerald, you're supposed to pay fines. I'm sure you were told that as a condition of the plea and the reduction in the fines, so that, I don't know whether there was potential jail time involved, you were supposed to pay the fines.
Yes, ma'am.
So why don't you? That's your responsibility.
Well, at that time, Your Honor,
Let's not talk about at that time when you had big child support and you had other things that you had to take care of. We're talking about 6 years later, sir.
Yes, ma'am. The problem was, like I said, back years ago, I used to pay more money in my check for child support than I was actually making those times in points, where I actually received check stubs stating void, $0. I actually owed the company money.
Well, sir, that's
You can't take blood from a stone, Your Honor.
Mr. Fitzgerald, how many children do you have, sir?
3 children.
The only reason that they were taking out more money, sir, than you actually made is because there was a time when you got behind in your child support.
Yes, ma'am.
They don't keep me here because I'm gorgeous. You could have disagreed with me, Mr. Fitzgerald. It would have gone far. So the reason, right, yeah, what a missed opportunity. So for that reason, sir, you didn't do the right thing with regard to your 3 children, and the state said, okay, what's your first name?
Chris.
Chris. Okay, Chris, we're going to really give it to you. We're going to take all your money. So whatever you work for, we're going to take because you didn't do the right thing to begin with. What I don't understand, Mr. Fitzgerald, is that after you owed this money, now we're talking about years later, and I assume that now, based upon your answer, you were making good money. So if you were making good money, why didn't you pay your debt to society?
I can't answer that, Your Honor. Just...
Good. It's a good thing you can't answer it. You don't know. There's no good reason.
Doesn't pay any of his debts.
Shh. Miss Scott, does it sound as if you're losing yet?
Not yet.
Okay. Now, you want to tell me how come it came about that you pay these fines for him?
Absolutely.
First of all, there had to come a time in your relationship with Mr. Fitzgerald, which was a brief relationship because you only met him through his girlfriend, who was a friend of yours, that you found out that he had all these old fines, right?
Right.
You didn't, you know, go like this to your crystal ball and they say, oh, Chris Fitzgerald has fines, I'm going to pay them. Somebody must have told you.
Do you have any you'd like me to pay?
Right.
Anybody else?
Anybody else? So would you please tell me, Miss Goppert, how you found out that Mr. Fitzgerald had these fines that precluded him from having a driver's license?
Okay. In speaking with his girlfriend, Terry, over coffee in a convenience store one morning, it was brought to my attention that he did want to drive truck again, but
Is
he
that what
had
she
no
said?
license.
That's what she said.
She asked to drive.
Hey. What's your name?
Terry.
How long have you been a friend of Terry's?
Maybe just a little short of a year.
Okay. So you and Terry having coffee, she says that a boyfriend was interested in driving a truck.
He had a CDLA, yes, and that we had the trucking company, and he'd like to get back into the trucking company because he made good money. How convenient. I happen to have a trucking company.
Great.
So we talked about it over several weeks. I said, well, you know, he needs to fill out an application. Let's see what we can do with it. After the application process, I find out he doesn't have a license. And he had 14 tickets within 4 municipalities. They produced a copy of his expansion record from New York State Department of Motor Vehicle to me.
Who produced it?
Terry brought it into work. I looked it over and I said, wow, what is this mess? She proceeded to tell me that at one point, Chris had retained an attorney. The attorney did get some of the charges dismissed. We went from 14 down to 7. 7 of them were dismissed.
Your Honor, why would my attorney...
Was that a question you were posing to me?
Yes, I'm trying to...
Oh, just a second. I don't answer questions. I ask them.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I agreed to drive her truck.
Oh,
that's all
now
it was.
there you...
Now,
Your Honor, just a second. Hey, Slick, I read your answer. You want to read it again?
And later today...
Were you there that night, sir?
Yes, I was.
Good. That's all I asked you.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Karen Goppert claims former friend Chris Fitzgerald racked up multiple tickets as a truck driver. She paid the outstanding fines on his behalf and claims Chris never paid her back.
Okay, so far, I haven't heard a conversation with Mr. Fitzgerald. I've heard a conversation only with Terry.
Chris also, over the course of the winter, wasn't working and needed money. And my husband and I also have 11 rental properties. And Chris is somewhat of a handyman, if that's what you want to call it. He put a steel roof on one of our rental properties.
He worked for you over the summer. Go ahead.
Yeah, and he was paid in full.
Go ahead.
And of course, during the course of him working on our rental properties, there was discussion about getting these tickets resolved. It was agreed that I would pay the fines for him so that he could get his CDLA He would drive truck for us. Then the bottom line number, said and done, after we got to that point where everything was paid and he started driving truck for us, I would take whatever Chris and I agreed to per week out of his pay to repay the debt.
You had that conversation with Mr. Fitzgerald?
Yes, I did.
Okay, now, how much did you pay to get his record cleared?
$635.
Okay, go ahead.
After we got all the fines paid, it was time for him to go to the New York State DMV and get his permit so that he could take the 6-hour course. I had given Terry at the store over coffee one morning $100 in cash. In fact, it was a $100 bill, and she remarked how she never had one of those. And I gave her the $100 bill so that Chris could obtain the permit and pay for the 6-hour course.
Go ahead.
So there's another $100.
Well, not necessarily, but go ahead.
Okay. He took all the receipts to DMV to get his permit and could not get it because he had no birth certificate. He has no social security card. He has no identity. So he calls me up all in a tizzy. These people, blah, blah, blah. He's irate. Bring me what you got. Let's see what you got. He comes over to my house. Come to find out he was born in Canada. He has dual citizenship. So I paid another $35 on my credit card, and here's a copy of the application, to try to get him a birth certificate from Canada.
Go ahead.
That's it. Not, you know, my time, my postage, I mean, endless hours, letters, communication, correspondence, telephone calls.
Okay, Mr. Fitzgerald, let me hear your version of the event, sir.
Ma'am, it started about the time she stated. Karen had paid $635, but she wanted me to drive her truck. I gave up driving truck in the year 2000. I gave up driving for 30 cents a mile. She was putting me in a truck for 30 cents a mile. Here we are 6 years later. Inflation's gone up, ma'am.
Mr. Fitzgerald, you told me in your answer, sir, you didn't want to drive a truck. Then could you explain to me why you went down to try to get a license?
Because I need a license for many reasons. I need one for an identification card. I need one to drive to and from work.
Well, if you didn't go down to get it in order to drive trucks for her, what did you go to her house for when you were having difficulty and have her put on her credit card an additional $35, sir? If you, listen to me, if your intention, or at least your articulated intention, was not to become part of her business, if you couldn't get a driver's license, sir, why didn't you go to your girlfriend to get the $35? Why would you go to a stranger, Mr. Fitzgerald? That doesn't make sense to me, sir.
Exactly, ma'am. Exactly, ma'am. I never asked Mrs. Gopper.
No. You did go to her house.
After the fact. After the fact.
No. Listen to me very carefully. Watch my mouth. You did go to her house.
After the fact.
After what fact?
The fact that she'd already spent the $35 for the application fee, ma'am.
No. We're not talking about the application fee, sir. We're talking about the fact that you went to get a license.
Yes, ma'am.
Which you say you needed for identification. Just identification, not because you had any business with her. You just need an identification to sort of get around. You haven't had it for years, but you needed it now. And then you ran into some difficulty because you didn't have a birth certificate. So why wouldn't you go to your girlfriend if you didn't have $35 and say, listen, I need $35, I don't have it. I don't have a credit card, I need it now. Or why not just wait? You've waited for years anyway.
Your Honor, I could have reached into my own pocket and pulled out the $35.
Then
but
why?
Mrs. Gopper has volunteered her money to pay my fines, to pay everything for me to drive her truck.
You're not following me, sir.
Your Honor, you're not following me. She wanted me to drive her truck. I agreed to drive her truck.
Oh,
that's all
now
it was.
There you
Now,
you got just a second. Hey, Slick, I read your answer. You want to read it again?
No, ma'am. I know what I said.
What you said was you had no intention of driving a truck. Now you tell me you did
not
have
at 30 cents a mile, ma'am. I quit 6 years ago at 30 cents a mile. I'm not going to start. Why go backwards in life?
Mr.
Life is
Fitzgerald,
going forward.
Listen to me. When my mouth starts to move, you have to stop.
Yes, ma'am.
So is what you're saying to me, sir, that you agreed to drive a truck for her and you agreed to pay her out of your pay, but when push came to shove, she was only prepared to pay you 30 cents a mile, and you weren't going to work for the same wages that you worked for 6 years ago?
Correct.
Well, that's too bad. You should have figured that out before you took her money.
Thank you.
What you're saying to me now is different from what you put in your answer. What you're saying to me now is there was an agreement to pay her back, but you did not have an agreed-upon amount of money for when you drove with her. When push came to shove, you said, I'm not driving for you for
Your
35.
Honor, I never asked
I'm speaking, sir. That's what you just told me. And if that's what you just told me, you don't understand that you cannot modify the terms of a contract. Your contract with her was a verbal contract. She paid the fines. you were going to go to work for her. If you breached that agreement by not going to work for her, that, sir, does not vitiate your contract. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $635.
Thank you.
But she did lie.
She's a wealthy woman, and she's got more money than I have and ever will have.
I don't just shell out money to people. Wealthy or not wealthy, money don't grow on trees in my backyard.
I agreed to drive her truck, and now I'm not going to.
If he had no intentions of driving truck, why did he fill out the application? Why waste my time?
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Schulteis versus Britton. Step forward, please.
20-year-old Lisa Schulteis is suing her former friend, 20-year-old Kelly Britton, for the money she paid to go on a 2-day cruise to the Bahamas.
Tell me your first name.
My name is Lisa Schulteis. Kelly.
You two gals used to be friends, is that right?
Yes. Yes.
And at some point, Kelly, you lived with Lisa and her family?
Yes, over the summer.
How long had you been friends?
We've been friends since 5th grade, about 10 years.
This is your lawsuit. Kelly was getting married.
Yes.
And she prepaid non-refundable tickets, allegedly, for her honeymoon. And that was going to be where?
The cruise was going to the Bahamas, Nassau.
And that was for you and your fiancé?
Yes.
And when the wedding sort of went off, you asked her if she wanted to go.
Yes.
Because these were non-refundable tickets. She said yes. And according to you, you paid her the $600
Yes.
for the ticket. Then you had a fight, and you said, I'm not going, and I want my money back. Now, Ms. Britton says two things. She said, first, you only gave her $200, and second, you decided not to go. That doesn't mean you get your money back, because ultimately, you did go on the trip,
Yes.
but you went with your mother. Other than the fact that you say that you gave her $600, is there any proof that you gave her $600?
I actually bought an 18-foot diameter swim pool. It's $268 and something change. I decided a month later that I did not want the swim pool anymore, that I would take it and use it towards a trip. So I took the swim pool back and I handed the money to Kelly right in front of my mom. I counted $270.
Okay, so that's $270.
Yes.
That's not $600.
I also, well, my mom was there that night.
So far I have $270.
I have proof if you'd like to see the receipts.
Receipts from what?
From the swim pool.
I believe the swim pool. I believe the swim pool. The swim pool is $270. That's not $600.
Yes.
I'm a witness to some of it.
Are you the witness to anything other than the $270?
Yes.
Yes, she is.
Stand up. You're her mother?
Yes, I am.
Go ahead.
I seen Lisa give her first payment. She come home and she handed her $70, the first payment. The second payment that I seen her give her was $60. And then the deal with the pool, it totaled like $400 I seen her.
You weren't there when she gave me the pool money, Donna.
Yes, I was.
But she gave you the pool money.
The last
And
part of
Zach
it.
was there
Well,
when he
just a
gave her the
second.
last of it. Zach seen her
Okay,
give him
sit down.
$95.
Ma'am, Honor, the last payment was $95. Zach, the witness, was over at my house that night. They were fighting. I came home from work. I handed Kelly the money. She told me I finished paying off the trip money, that we were pretty much ready to go. It was a week later we got into a fight, and I kicked her out July 21st.
Okay, $95 when?
That was July 10th, 2006. It was
And
a
when was
Monday.
the trip scheduled for?
August 5th.
Were you there that night, sir?
Yes, I was.
Good. That's all I asked you. Now, you had a fight. Ordinarily, because you had a fight with her less than 2 weeks before this trip,
Yes.
I would say, well, you decided not to go. You don't get the money back. However, Kelly, you took your mother.
Yes.
Why didn't your mother pay you?
My mother ended up paying me the other $200 that Lisa did not pay me. That's not
Well,
right.
shh. Miss Britton, you're fibbing. Either you're fibbing here or you're fibbing now, because your answer says she only gave you $200, which means she owed you $400. And you just said to me, my mother gave me the $200 that she didn't give me, which means she gave you $400.
No, ma'am.
Were you just confused?
No, in my answer it says I told Lisa that since it was such short notice, it was only 2 months before the trip was even scheduled, that she could just pay me $400 because I know that, you know, she was just starting out her new career and she did not make a lot of money. No, that's not correct.
Shh, don't speak now. Let me tell you something. Your mother should have taken care of it, madam. Your mother doesn't get to go on a free trip.
It wasn't completely free for her.
Shouldn't be free at all. This is the fiancé. I assume you're back together with him?
Yes.
He should have paid for it.
I originally did.
Then if you backed out and say, listen, sweetheart, we're not a team anymore, keep the money, find somebody to go with you. But You don't take him, who backed out, and your mother, who went on the trip, and charge her for the trip. That's ridiculous. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $495. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Barbara Perry is suing her husband's former attorney, Armando Enriquez, for damages due to malpractice. Barbara claims Armando's negligence caused her to lose $9,000.
Yeah, this is case number 215 on the calendar in the matter of Perry versus Enriquez.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Miss Perry, according to the complaint that I've read, your husband was arrested.
Yes.
When was he arrested?
October the 26th of 2005.
What was he arrested for?
He was arrested for possessions for sales.
Possession of drugs with
Yes.
intent to sell?
Yes.
Bail was set, and he was appointed an attorney. The defendant is the attorney who was appointed by the court to represent him.
Correct.
And your husband is currently incarcerated, is that
Yes,
right?
he is.
This is your complaint. Your complaint alleges that you posted $9,000 in bond for him, and the attorney, Mr. Enriquez, told him not to report on the adjourned date that had been fixed.
Correct.
He told him to come the next day, May 26th. And when your husband showed up May 26th, he was arrested because a warrant had been issued for his arrest on May 25th, the original date set by the court.
Yes.
You believe that Mr. Enriquez is responsible for your losing your bond because once the warrant was issued, you forfeited your bond, and you're out $9,000. And you believe that Mr. Enriquez was negligent in failing to either effectively communicate with your husband or effectively communicate with the court. Mr. Enriquez says the bail was not forfeited because of anything he did. The bail was forfeited because the bail bondsman decided that he didn't want to be responsible anymore for your husband's presence in the community. He felt that he was a flight risk, and he came to the court and said, I no longer want to ensure his appearance, so I want the bail revoked. It had nothing to do with his actions. So far, is that the case?
It's pretty close.
Okay. Your husband was arrested October 26, 2005. When was he bailed out?
He was bailed out on February the 26th of 2006.
Did it take you that long to get the money together?
Yes.
When you bailed him out on February 26th, what was the next adjourned date? Do you remember?
May the 25th of 2006.
When were you appointed to represent him, Mr. Enriquez?
1/8/06.
Now, February 26, 2006 is the date that Mr. Perry was released on bond.
Right.
After February 26th, when did you appear with him?
March the 25th of 06.
What was the next scheduled date, sir?
5/25 was the scheduled court date.
Now tell me what happened on May 25th, Miss Perry.
He didn't go to court on May 25th.
Tell me why.
Because he was advised by his attorney not to go to court because his attorney told him he wouldn't be able to go there because he was in trial all day that day and do not go to court.
Okay. So on May 24th, Mr. Enriquez contacted you and said, I am engaged in another trial. Don't come on the 25th, come on the 26th?
Yes, that's what he said.
Mr. Enriquez, is that correct, sir?
I didn't contact her, I contacted him.
What was the adjourned date after April 24th, sir?
June the 9th is the time that it was adjourned. May 25th is a court date that I set myself, not the court. It's not an adjourned date. It's a motion.
Did you call the court to adjourn that motion?
Yes.
Okay. You're the bail bondsman?
Yes.
Would you step up, please? Tell me your name.
Tony Lopez?
Mr. Lopez, you were the person responsible for bailing him out.
Yes, I am.
You're also the person responsible for having the bail forfeited. Is that right?
Not really.
Well, tell me what happened.
Okay. In the month of February, we've bailed Patrick Perry for the first time.
You bailed him out in February, February 26th.
Yes.
Okay. What was the next court date?
Okay, well, before that even happened, July, Mrs. Patrick Perry calls me in a panic, saying that her husband, Patrick, was running, that he's going to take off, he's gone, and that you better come put him back in jail.
In July?
In July.
July of 2005?
06.
I'm talking about May of 06, sir.
I never wrote a bond until February of 06, and July of 06, and August of 06. I don't know anything about 05.
When was bail forfeited? In what month?
The bond was actually never forfeited. They stayed the warrant on May 25th of 06. But they stayed that warrant. And then we found out they had a court date the very next day. I told my future recovery agent to go to the court date the next day to see if he would show up. He did. He surrendered the bond at that time.
On the 26th
Yes.
of May.
Yes.
So what are you talking to me about July of 2006? May, June, July. It comes afterwards.
Well, I'll get to that in a minute.
No, answer it now, Mr. Lopez.
Okay, I got my months mixed up. The first time we actually bailed him was in February of 06.
Right.
Okay, so then in July 25th.
Not July. It can't be July 25th.
I mean, May 26th of.
It's amazing to me how the criminal justice system functions at all. Mr. Lopez, listen to me carefully, sir. I'm going to ask you one question. Is what you're telling me that Miss Perry called you prior to May 25th? May, not July.
Okay, May.
I mean, by July, he was back in jail.
Right.
Right, Miss Perry?
Yes.
You did go visit him in
Yes.
June in
Yes.
jail, in
Yes.
July in jail.
Yes.
You didn't have any further conversation with Mr. Lopez in July, right?
Yes.
Mr. Lopez, you've got to get your act together, sir. So, the reason that you decided not to continue his bail was because his wife told you he was going to run.
Right. That's part of the reason.
So this becomes a little more complicated. For this, we probably need a whole hour.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Mr. Lopez, Mr. Lopez,
point here is
everybody's entitled to their 15 minutes of fame, sir.
She's entitled.
You've had yours.
And later today,
My sympathy goes out to you, madam, because he is clearly challenged. I mean, stupid, he's beyond stupid.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Barbara Perry says due to the negligence of her husband's attorney, Armando Enriquez, she is out $9,000. Armando is countersuing for defamation of character.
If you had gone to court on May 25th and the defendant was supposed to appear, a warrant was issued, but the execution was stayed until the next day. Now, it was stayed, I assume, until the next day because his lawyer had called. Is that right?
Exactly.
Shut. Don't say exactly.
Oh.
Don't.
Yes, ma'am.
Don't say anything.
All right.
Mr. Lopez, did your people show up on the 26th?
Yes, they did.
Well, I assume that they showed up on the 26th, not because somebody had a crystal ball and said, well, maybe he'll show up on the 26th, but because the court had information that he was going to appear on the 26th. You following me, sir?
I follow you.
So that's why your recovery team showed up on the 26th.
That's right.
So that Mr. Rodriguez, despite the fact that he should have submitted an affidavit of actual engagement on paper, his message to the court adjourning the case to the 26th was in fact communicated to the court. Yes. Because that's why your people showed up.
Exactly.
Right? So this is my question. If the defendant had appeared on the 25th rather than the 26th, and you said to the court, we no longer want to guarantee his appearance, would the bail have been forfeited?
No, ma'am.
It would not have been forfeited.
No, ma'am.
Because he appeared.
Right.
Well, Miss Perry, it's an imperfect system. And I'm going to tell you why it's an imperfect system. Because Mr. Rodriguez did, in fact, communicate to the court that he was not going to be there, and he had told his client not to be there on the 25th. Right. Despite that fact, because the recovery team had appeared that day, and I'm sure advised the court they were looking for your husband, the court said, well, we're not going to issue a warrant for him immediately. We'll issue a warrant and stay its execution until tomorrow, because his lawyer says he's not going to be here today. Maybe he will show up tomorrow. And because there had been a warrant issued, that automatically forfeits the bail. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
So it's an imperfect system, but it's not his fault. You know whose fault it is?
Whose?
Your husband's. Because but for the fact that you knew that your husband was going to take off, and you communicated that to the bail bondsman, because your husband was going to do the wrong thing, they came to pick him up. That's what happened. So a warrant was issued for him. Even though Mr. Enriquez did the right thing and notified the court, and even though your husband did in fact appear on the 26th, you were worried that he wasn't going to appear. You were worried that he was going to take off, because otherwise you wouldn't have told him that he was going to take off. What, Mr. Lopez?
You almost got it right, but here's what I see, and here's basically how it went down. She called my office one day and said that she was going to run. He was running, take it off. I'm following him. He's at this address right now. Go get him. So she wanted him back in jail in the first place.
She wanted to secure her $9,000. I mean, is this relevant to the fact I'm dismissing this case anyway?
Okay, no, and that's what it should be. But
Thank you very much. Keep talking. So it's over. Mr. Lopez, Mr. Lopez, everybody's entitled to their 15 minutes of fame, sir.
She's entitled.
You've had yours. Miss Perry, the only one at fault in this case is your husband, who you had probably a legitimate concern was going to run. He was arrested and charged and probably indicted for an A1 drug felony, faces a very, very long time in prison, and you were worried that he was going to take off with your $9,000. You notified the bail bondsman. The bail bondsman followed through, and it is not Mr. Enriquez's fault. The phone call was, in fact, communicated with the court, was communicated with the judge, who did not, in fact, issue a straight warrant for your husband, but gave him an opportunity to appear the next day because the judge knew that they were looking for him because he was going to run. Goodbye. Good luck.
Thank you.
Have a happy life. That's all.
Thanks, Judge.
Step out.
Whatever she says, that's what it is. I mean, he know his faults. I know my faults.
They just wanted to get the $9,000 that they pay for the bond, from me.
I guess Judge Judy has the last say.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Young versus Young. Step forward.
Christine Young is suing her son, Shannon Young, for missed payments on a car she helped him buy. Shannon says his mom repossessed the vehicle in question.
Mrs. Young, this is your son. And according to your complaint, he purchased a car. You co-signed for the car for him because he couldn't get the car using his own credit. There came a time he stopped making the car payments. You were forced to assume the car payments. Ultimately, you repossessed the car, took it back from him. Your former husband, his father, took over the car at some point. You want your son to be responsible for the car payments that you made between the time he stopped making the payments and the time your former husband took over making the payments. First, tell me, Miss Young, when the car was purchased.
It was March of 2003.
What kind of car was it?
A 1909 Subaru Forester.
And it was in your name, sir?
Yes.
What's your first name?
My first name is Shannon.
And Shannon, you are married?
Yes.
And you have children?
Yes, ma'am.
How many?
I have 2 children.
Your mother co-signed for the car?
Yes.
And you made payments from March of 2003 up until when, sir?
The first payment she made was $116.05.
Why?
I didn't have the money to pay it.
Did you call her and let her know that you weren't making the payments?
She was informed, yes.
No, that's not my question.
I did let her know that if she was able to make the payment, I was sorry that she did have to make the payment, but she would be reimbursed for whatever payments that she would be making.
So did you reimburse her?
No, she took the car before I could do that.
You say in your answer that you and your mother had an argument.
Yes.
During a summer. Was it the summer of 2005 or 2006? It's not so hard, sir. We're in 2006 right now.
Yeah.
Was it last month or the month before?
It's just that we're always arguing about stuff.
No, this was the argument where you and your wife decided, according to you, that she wasn't going to see her grandchildren anymore.
2005.
So after you had this argument with her and you decided she wasn't going to see her grandchildren anymore, she still made car payments for you.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, ma'am.
Even though you weren't letting her see her grandchildren.
She was not coming by to see the grandchildren. She was there for Halloween. Thanksgiving came and went. She didn't call.
Just a second. I don't ask whether she called. I'm reading your answer,
Yes,
sir.
yes.
Your answer said, as a result of an argument that took place last summer, it ended with my wife and I deciding that she was not to see our children, her grandchildren.
That is correct.
And all I'm saying to you is after you told her, don't tell me what she didn't do, you told her that she couldn't see her grandchildren, she still made car payments for you.
That is correct.
Why do you think she did that?
She's a co-signer on the car.
She didn't take the car away in January. She could have.
Yeah, she could have.
When did she take the car away?
I want to say April.
She didn't take the car away in February, sir. You didn't make a car payment.
No, I did not.
She didn't take the car away in March.
No.
So this lady who co-signed the car because you didn't have reasonable enough credit. You were old enough to make babies, but you weren't old enough to have enough credit to buy a car on your own. So she had to co-sign for you. She had to make payments for you when you couldn't make the payments. Then you had an argument with her. You told her she couldn't see her grandchildren. She continued to make payments on the car for you and didn't take it away. I just want to get the timeline straight. Shannon.
Yes.
Must have been a really important argument that you and your wife decided she wasn't going to see her grandchildren anymore.
Yes.
You want to tell me about it?
Why we wouldn't let her see the grandchildren anymore?
Yeah,
She's doing her best effort to involve herself with the grandchildren. She doesn't like my wife, and so she loves the grandchildren because they're her grandchildren. Now, for example, when my first son was born, I called her up from the hospital. And
How long ago was this, sir?
this was 5 years ago.
I'm not interested in 5 years ago. Tell me what happened in the summer of 2005.
Well, she called me up asking when I would be able to make a payment for her. She asked me if I would be able to have the payment for her on Friday. I said, no, I will not be able to have it for you on Friday. I said, I'll have it for you on Wednesday. She said, well, can you have it on Tuesday? No, I cannot have it on Tuesday. I can have it for you on Wednesday, because that's when I'm getting paid. And then she starts asking me if I loved her or not. And I said, yes, I do love her. And then she started crying to me. And I said, you know what? You don't need to start crying. And then she says, I am making your car payments for you because you're my son and my grandkids need something to drive around on. But it's not the car payment that is upsetting me, Shannon. She says, I know I'll get the money back from you. What's really bothering me is that I have been making your brother's payments on his carpet cleaning machine, and I have made a couple payments on your brother's Mustang. And I said, that's great that you did do that, and I'm sorry that you had to make my car payment, and so it's compounding everything for you, as she did have to make the payments for her 3 sons. But I did let her know that I would pay her back for all the payments that she paid me.
So far, I'm not hearing why she can't see her grandchildren.
Because she asked me if she could come pick the grandkids up on Monday. I said, that's fine with me, but it's really not up to me. It's a decision that me and the children's mother need to make, my wife, Elizabeth. Elizabeth didn't think it was such a good idea at that time for her to see the grandchildren.
Why?
It's my wife's decision. She didn't think it was a good idea.
Just a second.
Your Honor, may I say something?
Don't say anything. Why wouldn't you put your wife in her place, sir, is my question to you. How long are you married?
I've been married for about 5 years.
You know what the divorce rate is in this country?
I don't keep track of this.
52%. That means there's a better than 50-50 chance that 5 years from now you'll be married to somebody else. You know how many mothers you have? Oh, one. You know how many mothers you're going to have in 5 years? One. You know how many mothers you're going to have in 20 years? One. Madam, he's very challenged, and there is absolutely nothing that I can say to you. I mean, stupid, he's beyond stupid. Beyond stupid. Because his wife had a problem with picking up the grandchildren. He heard from a man who's just told me that his mother loved his children, went out of her way to be supportive of her 3 sons who can't get themselves arrested because they can't pay for their own vehicles, and he decides to say to his wife, you don't want her to see the children? I'm not going to argue with you. She won't see them. Something wrong with you.
There's
something clearly wrong with you. How many car payments did you... Don't speak to me, idiot. How many car payments did you make for him?
I think there was a total of about 13 payments.
And what was each payment?
They ran anywhere from $250 to $195.
Would you please tell me the total amount of car payments you made?
$1,962.
Mr. Young, that's what you owe your mother. You also owe yourself, sir, a little bit of growing up. One of these days you're going to have heartache. I guarantee you, your heartache will be if something happens to your mother, and because of your lunacy, you cut her out of your children's lives. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused and they step out.
19-year-old cashier Brandy Davis is suing her ex-boyfriend, 22-year-old cook Joshua Dorval, for a false arrest, the return of her belongings, and for driving her car off the road. Joshua is countersuing for damages resulting from Brandy slapping him in the face.
Quiet in the courtroom, please. Now, this is case number 487 on the calendar in the matter of Davis versus Dorval. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, please.
Miss Davis, Mr. Dorval used to be your boyfriend. He's not your boyfriend anymore. I think you lived together for a period of time as well. According to your complaint, he owes you for a whole bunch of things, a whole menu. He owes you for having him arrested falsely, causing you to have to post bail. You spent time in jail. He damaged your car, and he had a temper tantrum, that he has some of your property, that you lost money when you were incarcerated. You want him to pay all that stuff. Mr. Dorval says that you brought all this on yourself, that you did, in fact, assault him. He called the police. You were arrested. You brought that on by yourself. In addition to that, he wants damages for the assault. He wants damage for the emotional pain that he suffered as a result of you slapping him in the face, and his glasses that you broke.
That's correct, ma'am.
Okay. Who were these people?
This is my sister and my brother. They were there
when I supposedly slapped him.
Okay. How long did you live together?
As soon as I turned 18, so about a year.
And where had you been living?
At my parents' house.
When did you have the argument?
The one where I slapped him, that one, or?
The one where, let's start with the one where you slapped him.
The one where you slapped him, where I supposedly slapped him. Okay, I broke up with him on the 5th.
5th of what?
Of January, the beginning of this year.
Okay.
And he drove my car off a cliff. And he told me to get out of the car, or else he'd throw my stuff over the side of the road.
You were in a car when you broke up with him?
Yes. He then asked me, so does this mean it's over? I said yes. He said, well, watch this then. He drove my car off the side of the road, and a tow truck had to come and get it. But I did not want to talk to him, so I walked down the street, and I had to hitchhike my way back to the house. And then on the 14th
of what? She failed to mention she took my car when she went back to my house.
That's the 5th. That's when you broke up with him?
That was when I broke up with him. On January 14th is when he said that I slapped him. January 14th, I was at the gym working out with my sister. He came to the gym and asked me to go out there. I went outside and talked to him, and he wanted to have a CD player back that I bought him for Christmas. And it was in my car that I have, because that's the car that I was letting him drive. So he wanted $250.
What happened to the car that went off the road?
No, there was no damage to it. But that's the car that went off the road. And the CD player was in that car. He wanted $250 for it, so I went to my house. I decided to just give him the money so he would leave me alone. And my sister and my brother were there, and they saw that I did not touch him at all. I didn't even argue with him. I gave him the money and some DVDs that he wanted. About 20 minutes later, I had the cops at my house asking me questions, and they arrested me. I was in jail for about 9.5 hours.
Well, what property do you think that he has that belongs to you?
On the 21st
of what?
Of January, they served him the restraining order that I got against him.
So you got a restraining order against him for what?
Because he has hit me before, and I was afraid.
Well, when is before? So far, between the 5th of January and the 21st of January, I haven't heard of when he...
I have it right here on paper.
Can I see it?
This is a restraining... Oh, sorry. This is a restraining order that was served to me. My bad.
Thank you.
Yeah. That's her words of what went on in our relationship. May I say something?
Shh.
All right.
You didn't tell me that between the 5th, when this thing happened, when he drove your car off the road, and the 14th, that you went to the beach with him. What do you mean, you went to the beach with him, we stopped at a 7-Eleven, and Josh fell down and started shaking. He broke his glasses and watch when he fell down. Somebody called 911, and an ambulance came and took him to the hospital. Is that what happened, Josh?
No.
Look at me. Did you go to the hospital on the 10th of January? Very easy to check.
No.
You did not?
No.
Did an ambulance come for you?
On which day? No, which day of the month?
Let's try between January 5th and January 14th. Did an ambulance pick you up?
Yes, with her. She was with me that day, yeah.
Uncross your hands. Well, tell me under what circumstances the ambulance came to get you.
Well, apparently I don't know what happened, but I guess I passed out and I went to the hospital.
Oh, well, she says it happened on the 10th. So why did you say no?
It may have been the 10th. I'm not sure exactly what day
So
it was.
then my question is, why did you say no?
I wasn't sure what day you were talking about.
Then you say, I'm not sure of the date. You don't say...
Yes, that happened, but that's not when my glasses broke at all.
Okay.
And she did agree to go to the beach with me that day. After she said she broke up with me and everything. And,
I see.
And it says in May 2004 that I assaulted her, and she always came back.
Try to be quiet.
All right.
Until I ask you a question. Miss Davis, this is your sister?
Yeah, it is.
You were at your boyfriend's house on the 14th. You weren't at your house on the 14th.
Yeah,
Actually, nothing. Actually, your sister says here in a sworn statement that you didn't see anything that happened between the two of them on the 14th because you went home with her and went to your boyfriend's house across the street. She was inside with your father. And your brother? Is that what you say?
Yes, my brother was standing at the door watching everything.
But your sister wasn't there. According to you, she went inside to her boyfriend's house across the street.
She was standing across the street. We both have screen doors.
Yeah.
She was standing across the street.
Listen to me. That's baloney.
You got to get your story straight.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I've never touched him.
Is that why
His
you went to the beach
glasses-
with me on the 10th?
Listen! What part of keep your mouth shut unless I ask you a question don't you understand?
And later today,
She was very angry, and she said that this was a scam and that she just didn't think her dog would do anything like that, and that she knew the friendship was at stake, but that she wasn't going to let me scam her.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Brandy Davis says ex-boyfriend Joshua Dorval had her arrested for slapping him in the face. She's also suing for the return of her belongings and for damage to her car.
What happened with this request for a protective order?
I didn't go to the hearing, but apparently
Why
it's in
not?
effect for a year.
Well, that was pretty dumb of you.
A restraining order is to
Because-
keep somebody away. If I don't want to see her anyways, then it's not really that much of a problem.
Oh, sure there is, sir. Because when you make a request for a protective order, there's nothing that the courts can do other than issue the protective order. But if there is a protective order, and if somehow they find that you violate it, let's say you inadvertently go into a store and she's there and she feels as if you are following her, she calls the police and says he's violated this order because he's come within 50 feet of me. Then they pick you up, and that's contempt. So a protective order does have its consequences, so that was pretty dumb of you not to go to court and to just let it ride. Do you have a very busy practice? Do you have a very busy schedule? You have a job that works you 18 hours a day, something that precluded you perhaps from going to court?
No, but I figured that they would put it in effect anyways, even if I was there or not, just by the statement she made to them.
That's not necessarily true, sir. I haven't heard that explanation for failing to go to court. Ridiculous. Tell me about what happened, sir, on the 14th.
Brandy called Brandy called
Crossroads.
me and asked me to come down and pick up the rest of my things from her house so she wouldn't have to talk to me anymore or see me. Like she said, she was at the gym with her sister. I went to the gym. She came outside with me and talked. She went back in and got her sister. They got in her sister's truck, and I followed them to the house. She told me to follow them. I parked outside. She told me to wait in her front yard. She went in the house, got the DVDs, got the $250 that she was giving me back. Once I got the DVDs, I asked her, there was more movies of mine that she didn't bring out, and I was asking her where they were, and we got into an argument. I told her to F off, and I went to walk away, and that's when she hit me across the face and broke my glasses right here. Busted the screw right off of them, and they skidded across the concrete and scratched both lenses up. I got in my car, drove away, and I called the police like 5 minutes later. And they don't take people to jail for nothing.
What hospital were you taken to for your injuries?
I did not go to the hospital.
What doctor did you see for
I
your
didn't
injuries?
see a doctor. She's a woman. She got bailed out, and the DA apparently said there wasn't enough cause, or they dropped the charges from what I understand.
Your
But she
Honor?
still went to jail.
The story he told you is not true. I didn't call him. He was calling me 20 to 30 times every day after I broke up with him. I've never touched him.
Is that why
His
you went to the beach
glasses-
with me on the 10th?
Listen! What part of keep your mouth shut unless I ask you a question don't you understand?
I understand now.
His glasses broke when he had a seizure at the beach.
Why'd you go to the beach with him for?
I told him that I could try to be his friend, and that was about it. I told him there was not going to be anything else but
Why
that.
would you want to go to the beach with somebody, to try to be a friend with somebody who clearly is not playing with a full deck?
I
Who's
don't know.
calling you 20 or 30 times a day?
I don't know.
I don't know either. Not very smart.
No, it was not.
Okay, step up. You are the brother.
Yes.
You were at the house on the 14th?
Yes, I was.
Did your sister and Mr. Dorval have an argument?
It wasn't really an argument. They called saying they were coming home from working out, and they walked up onto the grass where he says, "Give me some of my DVDs." So she comes inside, gets the money, gets the DVDs, goes out. She has her hands like this ever since once she gave them the DVDs. Then she walked away, and he's like, "Brandy, wait, I want more DVDs. Let me go inside and see to get more DVDs." And she's like, "No, leave me alone. Get out of my life." Then that's when she walked in the house, and he just stood there. Then he walked away. She did not once lift her hand to hit him.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
You were bending down and she was jumping up.
Well, it was a freaky accident. We were in the same place.
That's right. It was a freaky
accident.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Brandy Davis says ex-boyfriend Joshua Dorval had her arrested for slapping him in the face. She's also suing for the return of her belongings and for damage to her car.
I don't understand why you called the police. I don't.
No, I heard you.
I don't understand, sir.
Because
why
if I
you
would have
called
done
the
that to
police.
her, I guarantee she would have called the police.
Listen to me. So, this is someone that you shared an intimate relationship with for a year. And what you're telling me is she, according to you, she slapped you.
Oh, that's not the
Now
first
listen to
time.
me. According to you, on this day when she said, I don't want to see you anymore, here's $250, I want you out of my life, here are your DVDs, I don't want to see you anymore, here's money, go, get lost, have a happy life. And according to you, things then get angry, she slaps you, and you leave. And you decide that you are injured enough to pick up the phone and call the police to have her arrested. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes. Because what she did was against the law.
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500. That's all. On your counterclaim, it's dismissed. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I thought it was great. I don't think he deserves any money or anything. Everything he did was wrong.
She's mad. I don't know. She's an angry woman.
I was scared of him. I didn't ever want to be with him again.
She's just blowing everything up. Trying to make me look bad, I guess.
He robbed me yesterday. He went into the mall and stole my purse and ran away.
We're both acting silly, I guess.
I am afraid he might come back to me, but I hope I have an end to it.
If it was meant to be, I wouldn't be on Judge Judy right now.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Mosley versus Gray. Step forward, please.
Marketing director Patricia Mosley is suing her former friend, nail technician Shar Gray, for the cost to fix a broken tooth. Patricia says Shar's Boston Terrier, Molly, headbutted her.
Miss Mosley, according to your claim, the defendant's dog, I assume that little dog over there, broke your tooth. You want her to compensate you for your dental bills.
Yes.
And then some. Ms. Gray filed an answer. I read the answer very thoroughly. And bottom line is, she thinks you're full of baloney.
Yes.
How do you know her?
I've known Shar for about 10 years. She's done my nails the majority of that time. I've known her quite well. We've shared our lives.
And you have your nails done at her home?
Yes.
So the incident that involved her dog happened at her home?
Yes.
Well, tell me when that happened.
The 18th of October.
And you've been to her home before?
Yes.
And her dog is there? And you've played with the dog?
Her dog and I are friends.
So what happened when you arrived?
She was doing another client, and the three of us were sitting there talking and joking, and Molly was bouncing around. And
that's Molly?
That's Molly. And I got up to go wash my hands to get ready for Shar to do my nails, and I was sitting on a small, low bench, and as I leaned over to get up, Molly came up at the same time into my face, and the top of her head hit the front of my tooth. And I felt and heard it snap, and I knew instantly what had happened, and I got up and did go into the bathroom and looked at my tooth. And
is this a natural tooth?
It is a natural tooth under a crown.
Which tooth?
It is the left front.
So that you could see the crown cracked when you looked at your at your mouth?
Yes, I could see and feel it.
So what happened when you came out of the bathroom?
So I said to Shar, can we reschedule this appointment? I've got another appointment, and I'll leave, and we'll just reschedule.
Why didn't you tell her that the dog had hit you in the mouth?
Because she had a client sitting there. I was just upset because I knew that tooth was coming out any minute. I just wanted to get out of there.
When the dog hit you in the mouth, did you cry out?
I said at the time.
Now, I'm asking you, did you cry out? I mean, there are other people.
I didn't scream, no.
Well, that's a great deal of force that it would take to crack a porcelain crown that is around metal.
That's true.
And your tooth.
Well, it wasn't around metal. It was a porcelain crown, but it was around my natural tooth, which had been ground to a perfection to hold the tooth.
I'm the daughter of a dentist. I understand exactly what it is. But that's a great deal of pressure that it takes.
Yes, but I was going down and Molly was coming up at the same time.
Right. So one might assume that you hit Molly.
Well, we were in the same place at the same time.
Right. You were bending down and she was jumping up.
Well, it was a freaky accident. We were in the same place at the same time.
That's right. It was a freaky
accident.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You were bending down. Molly was doing what dogs do, which is jumping around. And according to your own testimony, Miss Mosley, you just said to me it was a freaky accident. So I want to know is why do you think that that entitles you to sue?
Because I felt like under the circumstances that Shar and I could have reached an agreement as to how to handle it. When she called me the morning on my way to the dentist and I told her about it, she was really annoyed. And I said, I'll call you back after I go to the dentist so I know exactly what I'm dealing with. And then when I called her back, she'd had time, I guess, to mull the situation over. She was very angry. And she said that this was a scam and that she just didn't think her dog would do anything like that and that she knew the friendship was at stake, but that she wasn't going to let me scam her.
Ms. Mosley, what would your position have been if you bent down at the time Molly jumped up and you broke Molly's tooth?
I would have been very concerned.
Would you have paid for the vet bill?
In all probability, I certainly would have participated in it.
I'm not sure. Because I think what you believe is because it happened in her home and because this is her dog, she's responsible. It's an accident, Miss Mosley. Not every accident requires a jurisprudential intervention. Whether or not the tooth that is cracked, the crown that's cracked, would have had to be replaced anyway because the force that you're talking about is a great deal of force, and certainly the defendant, according to you, didn't know that you had been injured that day. Is that right?
Right.
Because there were three of you, at least. You, your other client, and you. Nobody heard you scream out. Nobody heard you cry out. You didn't come out of the bathroom. You didn't ask for a piece of ice. Nothing. You left.
I wanted to get out of there before my tooth came out.
Listen, that's very easy to say. It's as easy to say, my mouth was just hurt by your dog. I think I'm losing my tooth. Than it is to say, could we please reschedule my appointment? I have another appointment. Takes the same amount of time.
Well, my hindsight was probably 20/20.
Well, hindsight is 20/20. Accidents happen. Pay for your own tooth. Case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
18-year-old daycare teacher Christina Pizzo is suing her former friend, homemaker Paula Kronk, for illegally repossessing her Crown Victoria. Paula is countersuing, claiming Christina spread rumors that she was an unfit mother.
Come to order. All rise.
This is case number 107 on the calendar in the matter of Pizzo versus Kronk. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, gentlemen. Have a seat, please.
How old are you?
18 years old.
What's your first name?
Christina.
The defendant was an old family friend of yours.
Yeah, we were
and your
real
mother's?
close. Yeah, she was my mom's best friend.
And she did a very foolish thing because she sold you a used car, which is always a bad thing to do with a friend. However, in your case, you claim that she sold you the car for $800.
Yeah.
And you gave her a down payment.
Yeah, $400.
And then made other payments to her, and you still owed her $100.
Yeah.
And she came and repossessed the car. You won all the money that you paid her.
Yeah.
Plus the insurance and the tags that you had paid out in order to get the car on the road. The defendant says that, yes, in fact, you did purchase the car, and you only gave her a couple of $100, never paid her anything else, which is why she took the car back. And she is counterclaiming because she says you're going around town calling her all kinds of names, saying she's involved with drugs, and she's counterclaiming for really defamation of character, but she only thinks her character is worth $800 because that's her counterclaim. So I have to question that. Anyway. When did you purchase this car, and what kind of car was it?
It was a 1994 Crown Victoria. I purchased it on February 14th, 2004.
Okay, so you bought yourself a Valentine's Day present.
Yeah.
And you needed this car for what, Christina?
For college. I'm going to start college in the fall, and I've been saving up all this time.
Great. Okay, how did it come about that you purchased this car?
Well, at the beginning of February, Paula, she's a real close friend. I always talk to her and stuff, and she told me she was selling a car, and she thought of me first because she knew I was looking for a car. So she told me to keep in mind, and I had my $400, and she's like, good.
So February 14th, I was surprised, and she called me and she said, you know, do you want the car? I'm selling it now. You can pay me. I know you don't have all the money. You can pay me when you get your paychecks. And so she took me to get my insurance on the car.
And how long did you have the car?
It got stolen March 29th, but I only was able to drive it till March 15th.
Why is that?
Because my temporary plates expired.
And why couldn't you get permanent plates?
Because she did not give me the title. She told me over and over again that it was in the mail. She kept saying that they sent it to the wrong, her old address. And she kept saying, don't worry, it'll come. That's a liar. And I mean, me and my mom, we waited, and since I was so close, I trusted her.
Okay. You gave her $400 on the 14th of February.
Yes.
And when did you give her the rest of the money that you gave her?
I get paid every other week. And on February 27th, David, he was with me. We went to her house. I handed her the 100.
David? Who's David? David, what's your last name?
Bond.
Your friends?
Yeah.
Do you know the defendant as well?
Yeah.
How do you know her?
Through Christina. I've been over a couple of times to her house.
On the 27th, tell me where you went with Christina.
Well, on the 27th of February, around 7 o'clock, me and Christina and another friend, Justin, we went over to Paula's house. And Christina was going to pay her $100. And I witnessed Christina pay her $100.
Did she have cash?
Yes.
Who was this person?
That's my brother, Bobby.
I could tell that.
Oh, well. He's also a witness to her down payment.
Did you witness any other payments?
No, that was it.
Have a seat. Bobby?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me about this down payment that you witnessed.
Well, it was February 14th when she first purchased the car. And
How do you know that? Because she told you it was February.
Well, I was over there, actually, because my friend dropped me off because we had a school project we had to do. Then I had to wait there for a little bit because she had to go get her insurance because they went to go get insurance.
The two of them?
Yeah. Then when they came back, I saw Christina's car. We were excited. I had pictures taken with her, me, in her car and everything. And after that, that's when they got down to business. And that's when Christina handed her money, and she straight out counted out $400 right there. And I witnessed the whole thing.
Good. Thank you. Have a seat. Okay, so now we have on the 14th, $400, according to you, and on the 27th, another $100. That's
Yeah.
$500.
Yes. On March 3rd, we made a bill of sale because that's the only way you can get temporary tags, and we got temporary tags.
Do you have a bill of sale with you?
It was in the car, and when she stole it, she didn't give me nothing back, and I had all my information in a glove compartment box.
Okay, so on the 3rd?
Yeah, I have
the third
thing
bill of sale.
to prove my temporary tags, if you want to see that.
Sure, I'd like to see. On the 3rd, did you give her any more money other than bill of sale?
March 12th.
So the next time you gave her money was March 12th?
Yes, and I gave her another 100.
Where were you when you gave her the other 100?
Olderman's Market is by her house, and that's where I cash my check when I get paid. And she told me she'd meet me up there, and me and my sister were up there, and she got the money and she left.
Okay, any other money that you paid to her?
Yeah, on March 26th, she came over to my house, and I was kind of, wary. I was like, well, the title hasn't came yet. And she kept assuring me, she was like, I wouldn't do nothing to you, come on. I know she needed the money, so I gave her the 100. At that time, March 26th, I couldn't drive the car because my temporary tags had expired, and it was outside of my house.
And she hadn't given you the title yet?
No, she hadn't.
Did you ever get the title,
No.
by the way? Okay, when was the car taken?
It was taken March 29th.
3 days later?
Yes.
And it was taken by you?
Yes, ma'am.
Now I'll hear you.
I've been friends with Christina since she was about 5 years old. The $400 payment that she claims that they gave me was not true. She gave me $200 down on the car, okay, with the agreement that as of March 1st, the car would be paid for in full so that I could get the title out of the title loan.
What's a title loan? Explain that to me.
You go in and you give them your title, and they give you a loan for money. And I had taken a loan out in in December.
Let me see.
On the car.
Why did you take out a loan on the car in December?
Because I needed money to pay a few bills.
Had you ever done this before?
No.
What kind of bills did you have? So you
I
were
had
really
to pay an electric bill and a gas bill.
Do you work?
No, ma'am. I'm a homemaker.
How many children do you have?
I have one child that lives with me that's 8, and my daughter lives with my mother.
Well, you have an 8-year-old child that lives with you, who goes to school full-time. Why don't you work?
because he has a lot of problems. He's bipolar disorder and conduct type 2 disorder.
Does he go to school every day?
Yes, and I donate my time to the school to be there with him.
How do you support yourself?
My son gets a disability check.
How much?
$552. And I pay my rent and my utilities with that.
How do you support yourself? So far you told me that the state supports your child. How do you support yourself?
I use the money from the state so that I can be with my son.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Christina had called me and told me that she was going to call the state on me and that this wasn't over and that she was going to do whatever she could to make my life a living because of what I did to her.
And later today,
He took the rings because he wanted to teach you a...
lesson.
And then you...
I lost them.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Christina Piesel says former friend Paula Kronk illegally repossessed her Crown Victoria. Paula claims Christina spread rumors that she was on drugs.
According to you, she gave you $200. Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
And that's all she gave you?
Yes, ma'am. I kept my plates on the car so that she could drive the car.
And she had a bill of sale that you had given her?
I had wrote her a bill of sale, correct.
Where's the bill of sale?
I don't have it, Your Honor. They did.
No, she said it was in the car.
It was not in the car, Your Honor. She had it.
I don't know if I believe that. All right, let's hear your counterclaim.
Basically, I'm counterclaiming because after I took the car, they had called my mother, my friends, my family, claiming that I was on drugs and that I was stealing from them.
That's all hearsay. You have a witness to that?
No, ma'am, I don't. I have papers from the state because they had threatened to call the state on me, and the state came in and they called my son's school.
Just a second, listen to me. Do you have any witnesses?
No, ma'am, they had to
this
work.
Defamation?
They had to work.
Okay, well, then you don't have a case. You
Okay.
have no witnesses, because certainly you weren't on the other end of the phone, right?
I was on the other end for a lot of the phone calls.
Really?
Yes.
Well, tell me what you heard.
Christina had called me and told me...
Called you?
Yes. And told me that she was going to call the state on me and that this wasn't over and that she was going to do whatever she could to make my life a living because of what I did to her.
Let's go here, Miss Kronk.
Yes, ma'am.
You sold her the car in mid-February.
Yes, ma'am.
And you knew her and you knew her family.
Yes, ma'am.
And when you went there, she had $200, according to you, to give you.
Yes, ma'am.
And you knew that she worked.
Yes, ma'am.
And that was going to be the source of income for her to get the car to you.
Exactly.
Did she pay rent where she lived?
No, I don't have any bills.
And actually, her...
Shh. Do you know how much she was earning?
No.
Did you know how long it took her to save up that $200?
Her mom is the one that gave me the $200, not her. Her mother is the one that gave me the $200. I drove her mother to the bank, and her mother withdrew the $200 out of the savings account and gave me the $200.
Whose savings account?
It was Christina and her mother's.
Okay. So her mother took the $200 out of Christina's savings account
Yes,
because
ma'am.
clearly it was Christina's money.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And did you ask her mother whether or not the savings account had more money in it so that
Yes,
you could
I did.
so that you could get more money?
Yes, I did.
And were you able to get more money out of the account?
They didn't
no,
give me-
because they didn't have more money in the account at the time.
Exactly.
Correct? You explained to me how you expected her to come up with 3 times that amount of money in 2 weeks.
Her mother reassured me that they would help.
No,
Yes, she did.
that's hearsay, and I don't buy it. I don't buy it. So I have to make a judgment. My judgment is very simple. I have to decide whether a person would give her a car, do all kinds of things, including taking up for the insurance, giving her the tags, if all she gave you was $200. And I find that you were close enough to her and close enough to her mother to know what she was doing and to know that in 2 weeks you couldn't raise $600, that the plaintiff's explanation is totally more feasible than yours, which is she gave you half what she had, which was $400, so you gave her possession of the car with the understanding that every other week she would give you another $100, which she did up until the end of March. So I believe she paid you a total of $700 for the car. You owe her $700. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $700, and I do not believe this slander baloney and your name, if it were true, should certainly be worth more than $800 to you. Counterclaims dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
mean, she lives down the street, or a couple streets over. So I run into her all the time, and it's sad.
She was lying, and just because she brought her best friends with her, they're lying too. They never seen her give me any money. She didn't give me any money.
That's a lot. I work a steady job. I don't have no bills. I'm 18, so I had the money. I have plenty of money to give.
I don't talk to her no more.
You can't trust anybody, and I loved her like my own mother, and she burned me and took my car.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of McLaurin versus Hoffman. Step forward, please.
27-year-old student Kelly McLaurin is suing her ex-fiancé, 22-year-old product representative Armin Hoffman, for wrecking her car and losing 2 of her rings. Armin says he financially supported Kelly throughout their relationship.
Miss McLaurin, you were engaged to Mr. Hoffman.
Was.
Is your claim that he took 2 rings, one the engagement ring that he had given to you, and the other an engagement ring that someone else had given to you? He took them for whatever reason, and he lost them. You want to be reimbursed for those rings. And in addition, after you broke up, but you have a child together?
Yes.
He used your car to drive your daughter someplace, and he had an accident in the car. You want him to pay to have the car fixed. Mr. Hoffman says that he took the rings because he wanted to teach you a
lesson.
And the lesson was?
She kept leaving the rings laying around, and she seemed like she didn't even care that she had them.
So you wanted to teach her a lesson in responsibility. And then you?
I lost them.
Lost them.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Kelly McLaurin says ex-fiancé Armin Hoffman owes for wrecking her car and for losing 2 of her rings.
Does it sound foolish what you did?
No, I think my reason had merit.
Your reason had merit, but the bottom line was you lost the rings.
Yes, ma'am.
It's not how many battles you won and lost. Did you win or lose the war? You lost the war. The only problem with the rings are, Miss McLaurin, is the engagement ring you had to return to him anyway.
Actually, when we broke up the second time, I gave him the ring back, and he said he did not want it and to keep it. And
he didn't mean it. The engagement ring that he gave you, you had to give back to him. Now tell me about this other ring that he took and lost.
It was an engagement ring from a former relationship.
Well, what did it look like, and how much is it worth?
I picked it out back in '95, and we purchased it for $1,500.
Can I see it, please?
And that was back in '95. I do not have a receipt. He has the receipts and everything. It was a princess cut ring, 3 stones, a total of a ½ carat.
And you lost it?
Yes, ma'am. When I moved out of Miss McLaurin's house, in the process of moving, I lost the rings.
So you have to pay for it?
Honestly, I don't think the ring was worth $1,500.
How do we know?
Just, it didn't seem like it was all that when I've seen it.
Well, Mr. Hoffman, the reason you told me you took the ring is because you wanted to teach her responsibility and not leaving it around. I assumed that you would not have taken the ring if the ring wasn't worth very much. What difference did it make if she left it around? Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Well, the point was, when we were together, she'd always leave the engagement ring that I've given her. She'd always leave it around. Instead of wearing it, she'd leave it on top of the microwave or on the counter. It just never where it's supposed to be. I wanted to teach her a lesson, but I never intended.
Okay, so you taught her a very pricey lesson. You have to pay for the ring. Now let's talk about the car. You had an accident while you were driving in her car. After you had already broken up, you were driving your daughter someplace?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me about the accident, Mr. Hoffman.
She wanted me to get my daughter's haircut, which I said fine. We didn't want to change the car seat out, which I didn't have the car seat in my car at the time. So
You didn't have a car seat in your car.
Mm-hmm.
She did.
Yes.
So?
We decided to exchange cars. She said, just take my car, and I'll borrow yours. She went to Walmart. I went to go get my daughter's haircut. Got her haircut. On the way back to her house, 2 minutes away from her driveway, I ended up rear-ending another person.
So why aren't you responsible for the damage?
Well, I don't think I'm responsible for the damages because for the entire time that I've known Ms. McLaurin, she hasn't worked. I took care of her. I paid the bills. Even after we broke up, I paid some of the bills for her to help her out.
That's good.
Yes, and also after we split up, I was paying child support, and if she needed anything extra, I would try to help out with it.
Well, that's nice. But you have to pay child support because you have a child. Who's supposed to pay child support for your child? Me?
I'm not
Bert?
saying
He's
nothing
got his own
about,
children.
I'm not saying nothing about
So,
child
and
support.
if you gave her something extra because you had extra, that was very nice of you. You don't have to do that. You have to pay for the car because you had an accident. It was your fault. How much was the car?
I have estimates.
What's the cheapest estimate?
$1172.03.
Show it to him. Got it, Mr. Hoffman?
Yes, ma'am.
Got to pay $1,500 for the rings and $1172 to fix the car because you had the accident. Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $2,672. Thank you.
Judge.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Home remodeler James Newsom is suing his friend's ex-landlord, property owner Lai Chen, for maliciously allowing his dog to run away. Lai is countersuing, claiming James damaged her property and stole her gun.
Yeah, this is case number 331 on the calendar in the matter of Newsom versus Chan. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat.
Mr. Newsom, it is your claim that owing to the defendant's negligence, your dog ran away. I assume this is the dog. As a result of that, you found the dog in pound. You had vet bills, pound costs, etc. Ms. Chan says that you were a squatter on her property. You were not a tenant there, that the dog was left in her backyard. She opened the gate to leave. Your dog ran out. She had absolutely no obligation to go chasing after your dog. And in addition, she says that while you were a squatter there, you hit her house with your truck. You caused damage to her home. She wants you to pay for that. Ms. Newsom, do you own this house?
I own the house.
How many apartments do you have in the house?
3 houses over there, triplex.
3 houses?
Right, triplex.
And Mr. Newsom, he is not a tenant of yours, is that right?
No, not at all.
Is that right, sir?
Yeah, I didn't live there.
Did you park your truck there at her house?
I visited my friend Mario on the weekends because I lived in L.A. at the time, and then I was working in Yorba Linda, so I stayed in Yorba Linda during the week, and I come in town on the weekends and stay with him on the weekends.
So you were staying there with your truck?
Yes, on weekends.
For how long?
I don't know, a month and a half or something. I forget now. He was until Mario moved out. I don't remember. I wasn't paying attention.
Well, let's try to pay attention and get specific. What month did you start to come in to visit Mario?
It would have been November 2003 through December of 2003.
And when did your dog disappear?
I guess, from what I understand, it was 4 days before I came to pick him up, which would have been on the 15th of October, I guess. I realized he had disappeared on the 19th when I came to pick him up.
You said you stayed there from November of 2003 till December of 2003.
That's right.
Your dog disappeared in October. That doesn't make sense.
That's right, because I wasn't staying there when my dog was being watched there. I went to Oregon to visit a friend and his mother who was dying. When I came back is when I, at that point, started staying there. And he was watching my dog for me while I was gone in Oregon.
How long did you leave your dog there?
I don't know, I think 10 days it was.
What's your name, Mario?
Yes, ma'am.
Stand up. Mr. Carmona, where was Mr. Newsom staying when he stayed in your house?
He would either stay upstairs, sleep on the floor upstairs, or because I had my aunt, my brother, and his girlfriend at the time, he didn't want to be a further inconvenience. So he said just lend him a couple blankets and he'd go ahead and just sleep in his bed of his truck for the night. I'd tell him to go upstairs and sleep in the...
And in what month did he come to stay with you?
But he didn't live, like you said, he would come over and visit on the weekends, but that started around November, about November.
All right. Now, when he left in October, he says he left his dog with you. Did he leave his dog with you?
Yes, he asked me if I could keep an eye on his dog while he went to go take care of some business that he had to take care of up in Oregon, I believe it was.
So, did you take care of his dog?
Yes, he left all the food that he needed. He left it upstairs with me.
How did the dog get away?
That is a good question. There was an incident where the dog was running around loose prior to Mr. Newsom leaving to Oregon. I had to call him because I couldn't put the dog back on his leash, on his runner.
Why not?
He wouldn't listen to me. I called Mr. Newsom. He had to drive back an hour. He put him back on the leash, and I informed everybody in my house, don't let him off the runner. He had plenty of rope, plenty of chains, so he could run around.
So you left him in the backyard?
He had a big backyard to run around.
You left him in the backyard?
Yes, ma'am.
Did he come into the house in the evening?
No.
So you left him in the backyard all the time?
Yes.
Was this backyard solely for you and the 2 other people on the lease, or was it for a lot of other people?
It was a shared backyard.
Well, what gives you the right to put the dog in the backyard?
None, but I did ask Ms. Chan that I was going to be keeping an eye on the dog. There was a doghouse in the back, because there was already a dog
When
back
did
there.
you ask Miss Chan if you could
Before
keep the dog?
Mr. Newsom left for Oregon,
Did
I
he,
asked her.
Miss Chan?
No.
Of course not.
Yes, I did.
No, I don't believe you.
Okay.
Don't believe you, sir.
No.
If you had a dog that you couldn't control and there were other tenants using that backyard, it is unlikely that a landlord whose insurance is responsible would say, sure, keep a dog that's uncontrollable in the backyard so my other tenants are going to have trouble. Unlikely.
Ma'am.
All right. Do you know how the dog got away?
No, ma'am. All I know is when I left to work that morning, the dog was on the leash. When I came home, it wasn't on the leash. I spoke to Ms. Chan, asked what happened.
And what did she say?
She said she had opened up the gate to give both dogs, because the other tenants that lived on the property had a pit bull that, if Ms. Chan may remember correctly, the first day that I went over there to look at the apartment before I moved in.
Just do me a favor. Just
Okay.
tell me what happened with your dog.
I asked what happened to the dog.
And she said?
She said that she let the dogs out to play, and she opened up the gate so they could run around, and they never came back.
What happened, Miss Chan?
No, because I went out. I parked in my car in the backyard. When I go out, I go to get my car, and I gotta go. So I opened my gate, I went, and the dog went too. They both went together. One is female, one's male.
So they were not on a leash?
No.
They were not on
at
the
all.
lead?
No.
Okay.
Not at all.
And you didn't go after them?
No.
Right. I wouldn't go after them.
It's not my dog. Why should I go after them?
Absolutely right. What else do you want to tell me?
I would like to tell you that Mrs. Chan was totally comfortable with my dog being there. And once I come back from Oregon and found my dog, took him to the vet, took care of all that, and I still continued to come on weekends and visit. She had no problem with me helping her property. Her property was in pretty bad state of...
What does that have to do with your dog?
It's got to do with the fact that she was comfortable with me being there when I was helping her out on her property. She was, before her denying that my dog was allowed to be there, she had no problem with my dog being there.
Just a second. You're not following, sir. She has no duty to run after your dog.
But she has the duty, if she says it's okay for my dog to be in that yard, to allow it to be there while it's there.
Listen to me, sir. She has no duty to run after your dog.
You're right. Unless she let him off his leash.
She says she didn't.
Of course she did. She's not going to admit to it now that I've got a $500 bill in front of her. Yeah, I guess not. She was
sure
pretty sure I
isn't.
wasn't going to sue her either. But the problem we have here is...
Listen, Slick, take care of your own dogs. If you have to go to Oregon, take your dog with you.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Madam, I can't tell what happened with this house. The house looks
Yeah.
like it's in deplorable condition.
The whole property is.
That's why he
Listen
hit.
to me. I'm speaking. I don't need you to help me.
You're right.
And later today,
He was incarcerated for 2 years. Then he became uncontrollable again, and he was getting physical with me, pushing me around, and he was getting really out of hand.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. James Newsom says his friend's ex-landlord, Lai Chan, allowed his dog to run away. Lai says James is homeless and he was squatting on her property.
Listen to me. I want to know if when you were going into her house, you banged into
I never
her house
went in
with your
her
truck.
house, and I did not hit her house.
Okay. When do you say he hit your house with his truck?
During the time he stayed in my backyard, and at night, because it's dark, he said he can't see it. He hit it, and the next morning I asked him to...
What date?
I don't have the date.
Well, why did you wait so long?
Because he's homeless.
Because I
I
filed
don't
a
know
suit
where
against
he
her.
is.
No, it's because she countered
You
her
know?
suit after she received mine. Of course.
Probably true.
I went over there the other day after I found out she was suing me and took pictures of the only place you could possibly hit her house. And the house doesn't show that, I mean, the house is just in bad shape altogether, but I don't know how you could say if I hit it or I didn't hit it. I mean, it's just in bad shape. Although I did re-roof one of her houses that I have another suit against her for because she refused to pay for that. And I have pictures of the fact that the house she lives in has got a roof blowing off and a house next to it that's hers I did the roof on, and I have not been paid for that.
What?
This is an estimate.
Madam, I can't tell what happened with this house. The house looks
Yeah.
like it's in deplorable condition.
The whole property is.
That's why he
Listen
hit.
to me. I'm speaking. I don't need you to help me.
You're right.
The house is in deplorable condition. I can't tell what he hit and what he didn't. He just said he didn't hit your house. You're not responsible for his dog. He's not responsible for your house.
Oh, you know what?
Mario
Check
moved
this
out?
out.
Yeah, it's
Mario
gone.
moved out?
Gone.
Good. Goodbye. Have a happy life.
And I knew you'd do that. That's all right, though.
Good.
That's all right.
Always are excused. Step out, please.
You did exactly what I thought you'd be. Come on, Hood. Let's go. That's why I should never come to this court. I knew she'd do that. All I know is she wasn't there when I came back from Oregon, and nobody told me nothing.
He lied in the court. He been staying there for at least 4 or 5 months.
I came in, I asked Mario. He just pointed and said, go talk to Miss Chan. He didn't want to tell me a word.
I tell him, that's your responsibility. Don't put me on.
I went and talked to her. She goes, I don't know nothing. I know nothing.
I don't want to help nobody no more. Once enough. And they put me on the court? No.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Hammond versus Hemstreet. Step forward.
16-year-old Robert Hammond III and his dad, Robert Jr., are suing Robert's mother, property manager Carolyn Hemstreet, for taking back a truck she gave to Robert for his 16th birthday. Carolyn claims the vehicle was never a gift.
Mr. Hammond, this is your former wife and your son that two of you share. According to what I read in your complaint, since your divorce, your son has spent time with both his mother and with you.
Yes, that's correct, Your Honor.
And sometime last year, when your son was living with his mother, he turned 16, according to your son, his mother gave him a truck. Is that right, sir?
Yes, that was actually earlier this year.
Oh, that is right, Your Honor.
When did you turn 16?
June 20th of 2004.
And when did your mother give you the truck?
Well, I started driving the truck when I was about 15 and a half. When I got my driver's permit, she started letting me drive it with her and then with other adults just to learn how to drive vehicle. She basically physically gave me the truck. On my 16th birthday, she was like, oh, happy birthday. This is your truck. Do what you want with it.
And that was June 20th of 2004.
That's correct.
When did you go to live with your father?
I moved in with my father September 4th of 2004.
Now, from June 20th, 2004 until September 4th, 2004, when you lived with your mom, did you drive the truck every day?
Yes.
Did your mother drive the truck?
Very rarely, because she has like 4 other vehicles. She has a brand new Dodge Ram.
Who else lived in your home with your mother?
It was just me, my mother, and my stepdad.
Now, when you went to live with your father on September 4th, you took the truck with you?
Yes.
And when did your mother take it back?
I think it was approximately September 27th.
Tell me about that.
Well, basically, I was living with my mom for a while, and then she started getting really frustrated because she was trying to buy a new house, and she got really stressed out, and she was like, you know, oh, maybe you should move in with your dad, this and that. So I was like, okay, well, you know, maybe I'll look at it. So I ended up starting to talk to my dad, and I was talking to my different aunts. They were saying, yeah, you know, at this point in your life, you know, it's better to live with your father. But basically, you know, I was just really stressed out trying to deal with my senior year and then have my mom, you know, stressing me out because I wasn't able to work, and, like, I wasn't able to rely on her to give me money.
So you went to live with your father.
Yeah.
September 27th, she took the truck back. My question was, tell me about her taking the truck back.
Oh, basically, she came up to my school September 27th, and she came with the pink slip and everything because the truck was still in her name since I was under her custody. And she was like, so, do you want to give me the truck back? And I was like, no, because it's not really your truck.
When had she asked you for the truck before September 27th?
A few days before that, she had came over to my grandma's.
Tell me about it.
Okay. Well, I was over at my grandma's. It was about September 25th.
Don't play with your paper, madam.
And she came over requesting the truck, and I was just in the middle of, like, helping out my grandma doing some work for her. Mom was just like, oh, give me back your truck, this and that. And she tried to, like, physically take it from me. I refused to give her the key.
Was that the first time she had asked you for the truck?
No, I think she had asked me on the phone once before that, but then I thought she had dropped it because I was just like...
Well, what did she say on the phone?
I don't remember her exact words, but basically she was like, oh, if you want to live with your dad, basically you need to pay for the truck. She was like, you can pay me in payments. She was just basically saying, oh, you need to pay me $5,000 for the vehicle.
And what did you say?
I said, that's not really realistic because the truck was given to me as a gift. Therefore, I invested money in it, and I didn't think I would have to pay you back for the truck that was already given to me. So I was like, no, I'm not going to pay you for a truck that you supposedly gave to me.
From June of 2004, when you got the truck, until September, when you moved in with your father, had your mother ever made any statement to you that would indicate that she expected you to pay her for the truck?
No.
Never?
Never.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 16-year-old Robert Hammond III says his mother, Carolyn Hemstreet, took back a truck she gave him for his 16th birthday.
Now, when you moved in with your father in September, you made some modifications to the truck and you did some work on it?
Oh, no, I made the modifications while I was living with my mother. She had encouraged me to do the modifications because the truck, it was like a pink truck. And basically, you know, I didn't feel comfortable driving around with a pink truck, you know what I mean?
You mean pink in color?
Yeah.
Okay, so you painted it and did whatever else?
Had it lower, it had rims put on it, you know.
I'll hear you.
Your Honor, I allowed my son to use the truck because we lived 8 miles south of town.
Did you ever say to him on his birthday, here's the truck?
No, I said, you're authorized to use the truck now that you have a license, because he was cited for driving the vehicle without a license, and he was speeding also.
So you're telling me on his birthday you said to him, you can now use the truck.
Well,
is that what you're telling me?
Well, he was using the truck against my better wishes prior to his 20th birthday.
16th birthday.
His 16th birthday. Well, he acts like a 20-year-old, excuse me.
Were you in favor of him moving in with his father?
No, Your Honor, I wasn't.
Why not?
Well, Robert had just recently been released from a group home where he was incarcerated for 2 years, and he had been with me approximately 3 or 4 months, and then he became uncontrollable again, and he was getting physical with me, pushing me around, and we were verbally assaulting each other, you know, cussing each other out, and he was getting really out of hand. But
what kind of work do you do, Mr. Hammond?
I work for the state of California. I'm an insurance claims representative.
Does your judgment of divorce provide for custody for your son?
Yes, I do have sole physical custody.
In the judgment of divorce?
Yes.
Is there an order of support?
Yes.
Your former wife is supposed to pay support for him?
Yes, there's several $1,000s in arrears that she has not paid.
Why is that?
Well, Your Honor, at the time, I've been disabled for approximately 16 years since Robert was an infant, and at the time...
What's the nature of your disability?
I'm a bipolar. I stressed out as a result of job-related stress working with the Sheriff's Department at a prison.
Has the order of support ever been lifted?
Yes, Your Honor. There was a time when I had sole physical custody of my Robert, which was just prior to him being with his father, and also I owed his father child support, and he was also paying me child support.
How much do you owe him in child support?
Approximately, I figure I owe him about $15,000 in child support.
Do you have other children?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
How many?
I have 2.
How old are they?
10 and 11.
Your disability didn't prevent you from having other children?
No, sir. I had the children shortly after I became disabled.
Can I see the pink slip for the truck, please?
Well, Your Honor, I don't physically have the pink slip because I did sell the vehicle. I sold it to an auto dealer for $1,800, which was below the Blue Book value.
Let me see.
This is a statement for the sales, and then also...
very silly lady, Miss Hamstreet.
Well, sir...
You are a very, very silly lady, madam.
Okay.
I don't believe this. That's not the way a dealership, whether it's a used car dealership or anything else, prepares a bill of sale. They put a VIN number on there, they put plate numbers on there. I don't buy this. This does not look, to me, like the kind of receipt somebody gives when they purchase a car if they're a corporation.
That is correct. I agree with you.
Well, okay. How much did you spend on the car?
A little bit over $2,000.
Miss Hamster, you are a very foolish woman. You have a son who's 16 years old, who maybe is putting his life back in order, maybe, maybe not. At least he appears to be getting along reasonably well with his father. It is clear to me that you at least led him to believe that this car was his on his 16th birthday, that he invested some money into it, into making it his, giving it lack of a pink tone, a more masculine tone, and doing whatever else he did with it. You owe $15,000 in child support. According to you, you sold this truck, if I believed you, for $1,800. Your relationship with your son is not worth $1,800.
No, but I felt compelled to do so because my son almost killed us in a truck once by...
I'm the leader of the pack. I'm the leader of the pack.
That's right. I'm the game champ. Old news.
I'm the leader of the pack.